I barely dodged in time. A chunk of limestone nearly smashed right into my face. 1 second later, and my perfect looks would have been ruined. Lu Shishir came over carrying bamboo and saw what happened. She got mad at her sister. Yin Yin, be careful, she scolded. Yin Yin just scratched her head and laughed awkwardly. She hadn't expected the stone to break apart so easily. Shishir rushed to me, held my face in her hands, and checked me over. Once she saw I was fine, she relaxed. I took the chance while our faces were close and kissed her on the lips. She turned red and gave me a little punch. Yin Yin is right there, she whispered. Poor Yin Yin covered her eyes and ran out of the room. After that little scare, Yin Yin worked more carefully. No more accidents. I got started on the foreherb grass. I washed it clean, stuffed handfuls into a bamboo tube, and pressed down hard with both hands. After squeezing everything out, I only had enough juice to barely cover the bottom of a basin. I mixed it with water at a 1:9 ratio and ended up with about half a basin. Meanwhile, Yin Yin had finished crushing the stones into small pieces. The next step was grinding them into powder, and for that I needed a stone mill. Only 2 families in the village had one, the village chief's house and the blacksmith Lisan's place. The chief lived at the far end of the village. It wasn't that I was too lazy to walk there. I just wanted to get to know Lisan better. I packed 10 jin of grain as a gift and brought Yin Yin along since she was the strongest. Lisan's house was just outside the village, not far from mine. I could hear the clanging of iron before I even got close. His door was half open, as usual, so I pushed it in. The yard was small, weapons lined up on the left, piles of scrap iron on the right, and a narrow path down the middle. What do you need, maid? He asked without looking up. Uncle San, I'd like to borrow your stone mill. I brought some grain for you. He paused. Something about my voice seemed to catch his attention. He glanced up, saw it was me, and immediately put down his hammer. Xiaofan, you came to see me? You're looking a lot better these days. That surprised me. I'd heard he never stopped mid-work for anyone, and he seemed so familiar with me. I dug through my memories, and it all came back. Lisan and my father had grown up together. They were like brothers. During the famine, my father had helped feed Lisan's family. Later, when the court forced men into the army, they went to war together. In the 5th year of fighting, my father died on the battlefield. Lisan survived and came home to his forge. After that, seeing me sick and alone, Lisan brought grain to my house several times a year. Without him, I would have starved to death long ago. He was the reason I was still alive. You're too formal, bringing grain just to borrow a mill, he said warmly. If your father knew, he'd scold me for letting you. He looked me over, noticed I seemed healthier, saw my pretty wife beside me, and smiled. You just got married. You don't have much. Take the grain back. And if you see any tools you like, just take them. His eyes went distant for a moment, lost in old memories. I told him to keep the grain and headed to the backyard with Yin Yin. Even though she'd already broken the limestone into chunks, grinding it down still took real effort. My strength had improved after a few days of proper rest, and Yin Yin was naturally strong. We took turns at the mill, and after about an hour, we had everything ground into fine powder. On my way out, Lisan told me again to pick out some ironwork. I thought about it. We really did need things at home, so I didn't refuse. I looked through his piles for a while and chose an iron pot. Good food comes first, after all. With a real pot, Shishir's cooking would only get better. Then Yin Yin spoke up. I want this one, she said. Yin Yin dug through the pile and found a small dagger, like a short knife. She couldn't stop playing with it, turning it over in her hands. Lisan raised an eyebrow. With his years of experience, he could tell she'd had some basic martial training, though nothing advanced. In these times, most people just worried about filling their stomachs. Girls who liked weapons were especially rare. I like this one. It feels right in my hand, Yin Yin said, swinging it a few times. Her movements were smooth, much better than with the long blade back home. That little knife saved my life several times on the battlefield, Lisan said. But I probably won't need it anymore. If you like it, take it, he paused. And if you ever want to learn some real knife skills, come find me. I spent 6 years in the military. I know a thing or two. Yin Yin's eyes lit up, but she didn't answer right away. She looked at me first. I nodded. She grinned and accepted on the spot, promising to come train once things settled down. The next morning, I was so anxious about my medicine that I skipped breakfast and went straight to check on it. The herb juice and limestone powder had fully combined overnight. The weather was good, bright sun, so I spread the mixture out on the ground to dry. Meanwhile, Li Xiaoran kept working on the limestone. The small furnace wasn't as good as a proper kiln, but she'd already nailed down the best settings. By the time I went to watch her work, she'd gotten the success rate up to 70%, with a yield of 1/3, far beyond what even experienced craftsmen in this era could manage. When I'd asked the limestone seller in town, he told me the best masters barely hit 20%. Sharon was something else. A few more tries and she'd push it even higher. I patted her shoulder and kissed her on the cheek. Great work, wife. Her face turned bright red and she couldn't even look at me. I leaned in close and whispered, "Wait for me tonight." She froze, her heart practically pounding out of her chest. By the time she recovered, I was already gone. "Oomph, who's waiting for you?" she muttered, face burning. If I'd heard that, I would have protested my innocence. I'd only left because I was worried about my medicine. After a full morning of sun, the mixture was dry. I gathered it up, crushed it with a hammer, then sifted it through a simple cloth screen several times. The hemostatic powder was done. "Husband, this is the medicine." Sure stared at the pile of green powder, confused. "You sure about this? This stuff can stop bleeding?" Li Xiaoqian was skeptical too. Where she came from, medicine went through dozens of factory processes. Even in this world, most remedies involved mixing and boiling multiple herbs. What I'd made was basically stone dust with grass juice on it. If it were that easy, everyone would be making it. Sure scooped up a handful and let it trickle through her fingers. The powder was very fine, almost like dust. The green color actually looked pretty in the sunlight. "Trust me, it works," I said. I didn't blame them for doubting. The process really was too simple. But in my previous life, I'd lost my parents young and grew up with my sickly grandmother. We couldn't afford pharmacy medicine. Whenever I got cut, my grandmother used this folk remedy. Every single time, the bleeding stopped and the wound scabbed over quickly. "But husband, what if we sell it and it doesn't work?" "We'd be ruined," Sure said, worry written all over her face. She had a point. In this country, selling fake medicine was a serious crime. Get caught, and you'd lose everything you owned, or get beaten to death. That gave me pause too. The remedy worked in my old world, but this was a completely different world. Who could guarantee it would work here? Everyone looked uneasy. This medicine was mainly for the military. If it failed, we'd probably lose our heads. "Let me test it," Sure said suddenly. She grabbed a rusty blade and swung it toward her own hand. "Sis, stop." Yin lunged forward and snatched the knife away. "You can't just cut yourself. How else will we know if it works?" Sure said, frustrated. "Hemostatic medicine is in short supply. This could be a huge deal. If it works, we'll never have to live in poverty again." Everyone agreed with her reasoning, but still. "It's dangerous," Yin started to say. In their old village, a man had been cut by an axe and died within 2 weeks from the bleeding. Sure cut her off. "Let me do it. I trust our husband. He's done so much for us. He's worked so hard to give us a better life. When has he ever been wrong? I believe in him." She reached for the blade again, but Yin stepped back, keeping it out of reach. "If someone's going to test it, it should be me," Yin said firmly. "I'm tougher than any of you. I'll be fine." Before anyone could argue, she raised the knife and brought it down. That girl swung too hard. The cut was deep, and blood came gushing out right away. I grabbed a big handful of the hemostatic powder and pressed it onto the wound, holding it down tight with my hand so the medicine wouldn't fall off. Normally I'd wrap it with cloth first, but Yin moved so fast I hadn't had time to prepare anything. I'd actually been about to suggest we just take the medicine to town and wait for someone with an injury to test it on. But none of them gave me a chance to speak. Before I knew it, Yin had already cut herself. That girl, I have no idea where she gets that reckless temper. But what's done is done. I stared at the wound under my hand, heart pounding. All the girls watched too, nobody blinking. At first, no blood came through. I let out a breath. The medicine worked. "Huh, Lin Xiaofan, are you joking? You think a little crushed stone can stop bleeding?" Li Xiaoqian sneered. I frowned and looked again. The powder had turned completely red, soaked through with blood. More was seeping out. The medicine wasn't working? I quickly grabbed another handful and pressed it on. Maybe I'd let go too soon the first time? Sure, go get some cloth, quick. I couldn't take my hand off, so I sent Sure to fetch it. About a minute passed before she came back. When I finally lifted my hand, the second layer of powder was stained red too, but the bleeding had stopped. Yin Yin, you're too reckless, I said, wrapping her hand with the cloth Shershur brought. I made a mental note. You have to bandage right away after applying the powder, and deep wounds need extra medicine. It's amazing. It actually works. Yin Yin didn't care about the pain at all. She was excited. In this era, hemostatic medicine was as precious as gold. Every bit of it could save a life. What we'd made wasn't much, but it could easily sell for 20 or 30 taels of silver. A little cut on her hand was worth that. Husband, you're incredible, the girls cheered. Nobody wants four-herb grass, but in your hands it becomes medicine worth its weight in gold. Yin Yin threw herself into my arms and hugged me tight. We should make more while there's still daylight, Shershur said, always the practical one. The four-herb grass will wither soon. Winter's coming. She was right. This was a real opportunity, and money now meant startup capital for later. The more we saved, the faster we could grow. In this world, you couldn't protect yourself without resources. I agreed and told Yin Yin to stay home and rest since her hand was injured. But she refused. What if you run into wild animals out there? The mountains are full of them. Without me, you three can't handle it. I won't gather anything. I'll just watch. She had a point. Sure, Cece, and I wouldn't stand a chance against a wild beast. So we let her come along. Four-herb grass was a weed. Anywhere people farmed, they pulled it out. We had to find uncultivated hills, which meant walking quite a distance. It took us half an hour to reach a good spot. The grass didn't grow in clusters, so we spread out. By the end of the afternoon, we cleaned out the whole area. The next morning, I packed up the finished medicine into a dozen small wooden boxes and headed to town with just Yin Yin. Shershur and Cece went out to gather more herbs. Shaoran stayed home, making limestone. Xiaoqian didn't want to go far, so she stayed to help Shaoran. The walk took about an hour. Last time I came to town with Shershur, I'd been gasping for air by the end. This time, thanks to eating well lately, I was only slightly out of breath. Meanwhile, Yin Yin strolled along like it was nothing, not even a hint of red on her face. That girl's stamina was really something. I couldn't help wondering about. No, stop. I'm here to sell medicine. Last night with Shaoran had been my second time, and with some experience under my belt, things went much more smoothly. She'd been so shy and sweet that I kept going half the night. Still, I woke up this morning feeling more energized than ever. Maybe tonight I should try with Yin Yin. No? Focus. I'm here to sell medicine. 30 years of being single, and now I can't keep my mind straight. Husband, where are we going to sell it? Yin Yin asked, scrunching up her face. The town was big. If we just set up on some random corner, nobody would trust us. But renting a shop for this little bit of medicine seemed like overkill. I rubbed her head and smiled. Good medicine sells itself. Don't worry about where. Worry about how good it is. And ours is great. I'd already figured out the plan last night. The best spot to sell was right near a pharmacy. First, pharmacies almost certainly didn't have hemostatic medicine in stock. Second, the only people looking for it were either rich families or someone who was actually injured. And an injured person's first thought would be to check the pharmacy. When they walked out disappointed, I'd be right there waiting. We headed to the biggest pharmacy in town, 100 Herbs Hall. Big shops like that didn't let people set up stalls too close, so I picked a street corner about 30 meters away. I laid out a cloth on the ground, placed my dozen little boxes on it, and opened one for display. Before I could even start calling out to customers, an old man wandered over. Hey young man, what are you selling? Looks kind of pretty. How much for a box? I'll buy one for my grandson to play with. It's hemostatic medicine. 1 tael of silver per box. What? This little bit for a whole tael? Are you robbing people? Wait, did you say hemostatic medicine? The old man's eyes went wide. Hemostatic medicine was so rare that you probably couldn't find a single shop in the whole town selling it. People died every year just because they couldn't stop their bleeding in time. The price wasn't unreasonable, but nobody would believe someone was selling the real thing from a blanket on the street. His shouting drew a crowd, which saved me the trouble of advertising. But the reactions were all the same. No way this is real. Looks fake to me. Probably a scammer. A woman even warned me that selling fake medicine was a serious crime. Yin Yin wanted to argue back, but I stopped her. It's the real thing, I said calmly. Genuine medicine, fair price. The whole morning passed. Not a single sale. Husband, Are we really going to sell anything like this? Yin Yin yawned, sitting on the ground looking defeated. Over 100 people had come to look, but not one bought. Relax. Selling medicine is about timing. Someone will come. I wasn't worried. I'd expected this. I knew the only way to make a sale was for an injured person to show up and test it themselves. That's exactly who I was waiting for. Then I heard it, thundering hooves. Hiya, hiya. The crowd on the street scattered in a panic. My eyes locked on the rider. In town, horses were allowed, but running them through the streets was not, unless it was someone from the magistrate's office on urgent business. The rider was a huge man, dark-skinned, muscles bulging, with an official badge on his belt. I recognized him immediately, Constable Bao Tianqing. That build was impossible to miss, like a black mountain on horseback. As he flew past me, I noticed a second person on the horse. He wore a government uniform with a sword at his waist, and his arm had a deep gash. Blood ran down his sleeve, dripping off the horse onto the ground, leaving a trail of red dots on the street. My eyes lit up. Business had arrived. In seconds they reached the 100 Herbs Hall. Bao Tianqing leaped off the horse with surprising speed for his size. Hold on, brother. I'll get you medicine. He charged into the pharmacy. The shop owner saw the official badge and rushed forward with a big smile. What can I get you, sir? My brother got hurt on duty. Bring me everything you have that stops bleeding. Bao Tianqing slapped several taels of silver on the counter. The owner hesitated, stammering. He didn't touch the money. Bao Tianqing's eyes narrowed. What? Not enough? I'm Constable Bao Tianqing from the magistrate's office. I left in a hurry and didn't bring much. I'll pay the rest later. Constable Bao, of course I know your reputation. Everyone knows you're honest and upright. It's not about the money. It's just, the owner paused. We don't have any hemostatic medicine. And it's not just us. You probably won't find it anywhere in town. Bao Tianqing stood there stunned. How could an entire town have no hemostatic medicine? But the owner didn't seem to be lying. The constable's face darkened. His brother's wound wasn't fatal on its own, but without medicine to stop the bleeding, it could kill him. The battlefield wasn't the only place running short on supplies. The rear was just as dry. The pharmacy owner explained to Bao Tianqing that the war on the front lines had drained every last bit of hemostatic medicine from the town. Everything had been sent to the army. He suggested trying wealthy families or black market shops, where some might be available at a steep price. Bao Tianqing looked lost. He'd only retired from the battlefield a month ago and didn't know how bad things were back here. His subordinate, a man named Song Shang, had been wounded fighting bandits. The injury wasn't fatal on its own, but without medicine to stop the bleeding, it would be. Going door to door begging rich families would take too long. And Song Shang knew it. He stopped Bao Tianqing from rushing off. Don't waste your energy. Even if those families have medicine, they'd never share it. They'd rather watch people like us die. He slid off the horse and dropped to his knees, face pale. Constable Bao, you've always treated me well. If I die, please look after my family. Make sure they get my pension. I don't trust anyone else to do it. Bao Tianqing was frantic. Even facing 1,000 soldiers on the battlefield, he'd never felt this helpless. Then an old man stepped out of the crowd. He reminded Bao Tianqing that he was the farmer who'd come to report his land being stolen, the one Bao Tianqing had helped. Constable, finding medicine in this town is nearly impossible. But on my way here, I saw a young man on the street corner selling hemostatic medicine. It might be worth a try. The crowd immediately objected. That kid's obviously a scammer. Who sells real medicine from a blanket on the ground? One tael a box? No way. The old man got angry. Are you all fools? This man is bleeding to death. Do you have time to go looking somewhere else? The only chance is to try that young man's medicine. Unless you'd rather just watch him die, Bao Tianqing made up his mind. Take me there. By then, I'd already prepared. I was sitting against the wall with my legs crossed, gently waving a folding fan I'd bought from a neighboring stall. I looked like some kind of wandering sage. Yin Yin copied my pose. I told her it would make us look more impressive. The kind of people who could afford hemostatic medicine were powerful, and if I looked like a regular farmer, someone might try to force the recipe out of me. Better to play the part of a mysterious expert. When Bao Tianqing arrived, I glanced up at him coolly. Spirit powder. Only for those with the right fate. I closed my eyes and fanned myself slowly. Instead of getting annoyed, Bao Tianqing's eyes actually brightened. He probably figured I was some young prodigy from a famous medical family, here on some kind of training journey. If so, his brother might have a chance. The crowd was confused, though. Wasn't I selling hemostatic medicine earlier? What was this spirit powder business? And why was I acting like this all of a sudden? But with the constable standing right there, nobody dared say anything. "Excuse me," Bao Tianqing said with a respectful bow. "Does your spirit powder stop bleeding?" "It does," I said, keeping my words short, as if nothing in the world interested me. Then I opened my eyes, looked him up and down, and let my expression soften. "Sir, I can see you're a man of great stature and righteousness. Honest and upright. I can tell we share a connection. I'll offer you a box for just 1 tael of silver." That actually made him suspicious. He knew what hemostatic medicine normally cost, and a whole box for 1 tael was absurdly cheap. He looked down at my little boxes and wondered if I was running a scam. Losing some money would be one thing, but if fake medicine made his brother worse, that would be unforgivable. "I'm Bao Tianqing from the magistrate's office," he said, introducing himself deliberately, a warning. If I was cheating him, I'd be in serious trouble. I caught the threat in his words, but I just smiled. "Constable Bao, I've heard so much about you, a man of true justice." I cupped my hands in greeting. "My name is Lin Xiaofan, from a small mountain village. Don't worry, this medicine is a family recipe passed down through generations. If you don't trust me, try it first. If it doesn't work, I won't charge you a single coin." That put him at ease. He figured if I wasn't after money, I must really be from a medical family. He bowed and picked up a box. But when he moved to apply it, I raised my fan and blocked him. He frowned. I just smiled and snapped the fan shut. "No rush, Constable." I pulled out a thin cord and pointed to a spot above the wound. "Tie this here, tight." He didn't understand why, but he did it. Then I nodded. "Now you can apply the medicine." He sprinkled the powder onto Song Shang's wound. I told him to press down and hold it. Otherwise, the medicine's effect would fade. He covered it with his hand and waited. A few minutes later, he pulled his hand away. The powder had turned red, but no fresh blood was coming out. Some powder fell off, and you could already see the wound was scabbing over. "Bandage it quickly. Keep the cord on a bit longer," I said. Song Shang was overjoyed. He'd been sure he was going to die. Finding medicine on a street blanket when even the biggest pharmacy had nothing. He couldn't believe his luck. Bao Tianqing was shaking with excitement. "Brother Lin, this medicine works better than anything I've seen in the military. You truly are a master. I owe you a great debt. If you ever need anything, come find me at the magistrate's office." I kept my composure on the outside, but inside I was thrilled. Having a constable as a connection meant nobody would mess with me without thinking twice. "I'll take everything you have." He slapped 6 taels of silver onto my blanket. I wrapped up 5 boxes and handed them over, plus the half-used one from Song Shang's treatment. He eyed the remaining boxes and asked if I could hold them for him while he went back for more money. But the old man from earlier jumped in. "Constable, you've got 5 already. Leave some for the rest of us." He pulled out 2 taels and begged for 2 boxes. Bao Tianqing hesitated, then stepped aside. He knew this medicine saved lives. He needed it, but so did everyone else. I told him not to worry. "I'll bring another batch in a few days and set some aside for you at the office." His face lit up. Before leaving, he bowed one more time and reminded me to come find him if I ever needed help. After he left, the rest of the medicines sold out in seconds. Every year, so many people died simply because they couldn't stop the bleeding. Even common folk were willing to buy a box, even if it meant going hungry for a few days in winter. The market was far bigger than I'd imagined. That's all for today, everyone. I'll be back soon, I announced, packing up. People crowded around asking questions. When would I come back? Would I raise the price? One man spoke up with tears in his voice. His daughter had died years ago because they couldn't find hemostatic medicine. He said 1 box could mean 1 life saved, and that I'd be justified in charging more. That hit me hard. I'd been thinking about raising the price next time. But if I did, ordinary people wouldn't be able to afford it. These were hard-working folks who broke their backs from dawn to dusk. They weren't poor because they were lazy. They were just born in the wrong time, in the wrong place. I took a deep breath. "Everyone, I promise, the price will only go down, never up. Next time, I'll also make smaller portions at half the size for half the price, so everyone can afford it." The crowd erupted. People could see what I was doing. This medicine would sell no matter how high I set the price, but I chose not to squeeze them. I wanted everyone to have a chance to buy it. This man has a noble heart, a young scholar called out. Others echoed him. I felt a little embarrassed, to be honest. It took me a while to push through the crowd. Yin Yin and I walked down the street together. She was quiet, her head down. Seeing all those struggling people had reminded her of her own past. If she hadn't met me, she'd still be living that kind of life. I grabbed her hand. What's wrong? We made good money today. Why the long face? She looked around at the people on the street and blushed. It's nothing. I was just thinking about some things. Holding hands in public still made her shy. After a while, she asked softly, Husband, did you really mean it? About not raising the price? I stopped walking and looked into her eyes. The sunlight fell on her slightly red cheeks, and she looked beautiful. I leaned in and kissed her face gently. Of course I meant it. I'm not just keeping the price. I'll lower it. She smiled again. You're such a good person. I pulled her toward the market. Your husband made big money today. Let me buy you nice things. We spent a long time shopping, fruits, vegetables, fish, meat, fabrics, hair accessories, all the daily things we'd never been able to afford before. By the time we left, I was exhausted. Women's shopping abilities truly transcend time and space. We didn't reach the village entrance until nearly sunset. The other villagers were coming back from the hills too, carrying big sacks of grain on their backs, smiling. It had been a good harvest. The village chief, Old Da, was sitting at the entrance enjoying the breeze. Xiaofan, haven't seen you in days. You're looking stronger. Bought quite a lot, huh? He looked us over. All the meat I'd been eating lately had filled me out. Yin Yin was wearing new clothes and pretty hair ornaments, looking happy. The fish, meat, fruit, all luxuries for villagers. He figured my limestone business was doing well. But then his face turned serious. Xiaofan, I'm your elder, so let me give you some advice. The limestone business is good, but you still need to work on your birth quota. If you don't meet the target, no amount of money will save you from a beating. Look at your pretty wife. All right, Uncle Da, we've got things to do. Goodbye. I grabbed Yin Yin's hand and hurried away. Her face was burning red, her chin practically touching her chest. The old man shook his head behind us. That brat never listens. We hadn't gone far when we ran into Li Ermatzi and Li Daniu. They were chatting and laughing, showing off their yellow teeth. Both of them had over a dozen wives each, so they never had to do any work themselves. But when they spotted us, and everything we'd bought, their smiles vanished. Li Ermatzi forced out a grin that looked worse than a frown. Xiaofan, how's business? Making good money with the limestone? It's okay. Just barely enough to eat, I said. His eye twitched. He looked at the fish, meat, vegetables, and fruit we were carrying. In an era when most people survived on coarse grain, I was calling this barely enough to eat. He was smart enough not to push it, though. Li Daniu, on the other hand, was practically shaking with jealousy. His face was twisted, his eyes burning. Why did this kid have all the luck? The money, the mine, the beautiful wives? And I'd even taken his money twice. He was convinced he was more capable than me and that the world owed him better. I smiled at him like he was a circus act. Oh, Uncle Daniu, when are you going to pay back the silver you owe me? He clearly hadn't expected me to bring that up. He'd assumed that after I'd squeezed him dry that one night, I'd let it go. He was wrong. The village chief just stood there, completely frozen. 12 copper coins a day for men, 10 for women? That's what I'd offered. Even a constable in town only made about 15. And those were considered good jobs. You needed connections or military service to get them. These were just ordinary farmers, and I was offering them nearly the same pay, right here in the village. Xiaofan, how much did you say again? I didn't quite hear. The chief stammered, his voice shaking. 12 coins for men, 10 for women, I repeated calmly, like it was the most normal thing in the world. He stared at me for a long time, then took a deep breath. Son, you're just starting out. Can you really afford this? You could lower it a bit. And don't worry about feeding them dinner. That's too much trouble. He had a point about the meals. If I provided dinner, these people might skip eating all day and stuff themselves at my expense. I was just getting started and didn't have that much money yet. All right, Uncle Da. I'll keep the wages, but drop the dinner. And don't worry, I can afford it. I'm going to hire even more people later. I'll make sure this whole village lives well. He looked into my eyes. We held each other's gaze for a while. Then he reached out and firmly patted my shoulder. If that's how you feel, then I'm at ease. But don't push yourself too hard. If things get tight, nobody will blame you for lowering the pay. I do have 3 conditions, though, I said. First, no slacking during work hours. Anyone caught being lazy gets replaced. Second, everyone follows my instructions. Easy. Easy, the chief nodded happily. And the third, I'd held it back on purpose, making it seem serious. I need some stone mills. Can you help me borrow a few? Or find a craftsman to make some? I'll give you 10 jean of grain for the trouble. His face dropped, but with relief, not disappointment. That's your big condition? Xiaofan, you can use my mill whenever you want. And forget about the grain. You're paying the villagers this well. If I took your grain too, people would curse me out. No deal, I said firmly. Hiring the villagers is one thing. You helping me is another. If you won't take the grain, I'll just hire people from the next village instead. Fine, fine. I'll take it. He gave in with a bitter laugh. He'd been worried I might forget the village once I got rich. Clearly that wasn't going to happen. After he left my house, I heard he just stood outside for a while, slapping his own face to make sure he wasn't dreaming. About half an hour later, most of the village had gathered at the entrance. People were getting impatient. Chief, what's this about? We've got work to do, just tell us so we can pass it on. The chief was grinning from ear to ear. He cleared his throat loudly and waited for everyone to quiet down. I've called you all here for some wonderful news. He paused to let the suspense build. What news? Are they lowering taxes? No way, with the war going on. Taxes only go up. Maybe someone had a boy. How is that big news? The chief cleared his throat and announced it. Lin Xiaofan's limestone business has grown. He's hiring 10 strong men to dig stone at 12 coins a day and 30 women to gather herbs at 10 coins a day. The village went dead silent. Then someone's farming tool clattered to the ground, and the whole place exploded. Did I hear that right? 12 coins? Even if they make us work all day? I'd take it. What if he doesn't pay? Who cares? Sign me up first. Everyone mobbed the chief, shoving and shouting to get a spot. He pushed them back and laid down the rules. No one too old or too young, no slacking, and anyone who disobeyed my orders would be replaced. That didn't cool them down one bit. About an hour later, the chief brought 40 people to my door. He'd picked them carefully. The 10 men were all tall, former soldiers, the strongest in the village. The 30 women were in their 20s and 30s, quick and hardworking. He'd made sure no 2 people came from the same family, and he'd prioritized the poorest households. Nobody who missed out complained much. I looked them over and was satisfied. Xiaofan, is the pay really what they said? A woman called Big Sister Li asked from the front. It sounds too good to be true. Feels like a dream. She explained that some villagers had gone to work in town before, lured by promises of high wages, only for the boss to disappear without paying. That year was followed by famine, and many of them starved or froze to death. So people were cautious about offers that sounded too good. I didn't get angry at their doubt. These were life and death concerns. I understood. Here's how it works, I said. 12 coins a day for men, 10 for women. Wages are paid once a month, settled by the 15th of the following month. If you have a family emergency and need money early, you can come get an advance, as long as it doesn't exceed what you've already earned. I continued. Work 28 days in a month and you get full attendance. Work 3 months straight and you get a bonus of 30 coins. 6 months, 80 coins. A full year, 200 coins. These bonuses will increase over time. If you want to quit, tell me 10 days in advance. Leave without notice and I'll deduct half a month's pay. They stared at me, stunned. They'd never heard of things like attendance bonuses or wage advances before. Can we really get our pay early? Someone asked. I nodded. Of course. And the bonuses, they really get bigger the longer we stay? Absolutely. The longer you work, the better you do, the more you earn. Their eyes turned red with emotion. A job like this, right here in their own village. How could they not be moved? The chief backed me up. I guarantee it. Xiaofan will not cheat you on your wages. Big Sister Li tried to speak, but could barely get the words out. Xiaofan, I don't even know what to say. She looked like she was about to kneel, and some of the others did too. I rushed forward and stopped them. People in this era dropped to their knees at the slightest thing. I was only 16. Having these aunts and uncles kneeling to me would take years off my life. Xiaofan, just tell us what herbs to pick and we'll start right now, Big Sister Li said, pulling herself together. You don't even have to pay us for today. Just give us dinner. Let us start today, the others echoed. Seeing how eager they all were, I felt relieved. With this kind of attitude, they'd work hard for a good while. After thinking it over, I decided to let everyone start working that afternoon. The 4-herb grass was going to wither soon, and every day counted. Let me explain the job first, then you can try it out. I'll pay you half a day's wages for today. I told the miners their job was simple: dig out the stone. The grinding crew needed to crush the finished limestone into fine powder, like grinding wheat. Quality matters more than speed. Grind it fine, and if you do well, your pay will go up later. That last part lit up their eyes. Already 12 coins a day, and it could go higher? They were probably imagining eating meat every meal. I sent Yin Yin to supervise the grinding crew since she'd done it before and could teach them. What herbs do we pick? Big Sisterly asked eagerly. I thought about this carefully. If I only had them pick 4-herb grass, people would figure out my medicine recipe. So I added a decoy. I told them to carry 2 baskets each, one for 4-herb grass and one for linglong grass. The linglong grass was useless for the medicine, but it would throw people off. I also told them to stick together in groups and watch out for wild animals, and to be back before sunset. Big Sisterly asked what the herbs were for. Don't worry about that, I said. She shrugged and dropped it. As long as she got paid, she didn't need to know. Sure took the women out and divided them into groups of 4 or 5, each heading in a different direction to cover the most ground. Meanwhile, Xiaoran and Xiaoqian kept making limestone. With more workers gathering herbs, I need a lot more limestone too. They even had to make trips up the mountain for more raw stone. Cece started cooking. It was the first day. I had to feed everyone a good meal. Our pot was too small for 40 people, so she had to cook 4 or 5 batches. I told her to stew a pot of meat too. My daily wage bill was only about 500 coins, but each box of medicine sold for a whole tael of silver. I could afford to treat them well. I needed to make money fast while the 4-herb grass was still alive. First priority was getting a better house. I'd raise wages later when I could. For now, 10 coins a day was already high. Go any higher, and I'd attract unwanted attention. Everyone was busy. By sunset, the women came back loaded with herbs. Combined, they'd filled about 5 baskets of 4-herb grass. Turned into medicine, that could sell for over 100 taels of silver. The men came too, each carrying a bulging sack on their back, drenched in sweat. They'd worked hard. Smells so good. Is that meat? No way that's for us. He'd go broke feeding this many people. They all assumed the food wasn't meant for them. Just workers, after all. I'd had to borrow 20 sets of bowls and chopsticks from the neighbors to have enough. Dinner's ready. Cece and Shur served everyone a heaping bowl of good rice with rich meat broth. Eat as much as you want. Come back for seconds if you're still hungry, I called out. The place erupted in cheers. Many of them had never eaten this well in their lives. 2, 3 bowls each. On their way home, they bragged to every villager they passed about the taste of meat still in their mouths. Soon enough, more people were showing up at the chief's house, begging to know when I'd hire again. Women started cozying up to Shur and my other wives, hoping for a spot next time. That evening, all 6 of us worked together to squeeze the massive pile of 4-herb grass. The old method, stuffing it into bamboo and pressing by hand, was painfully slow with this much. By the time we finished, everyone's arms were sore. My wrists were killing me. 30 years of being single had given me fast hands, but even that wasn't enough for this volume. I wondered how Uncle Lee San was doing with the simple juicing tool I'd asked him to build. But looking at the huge basin full of green herb juice, I couldn't help but smile. All of that would become medicine, and medicine meant money. Mountains and mountains of money. After squeezing all the herb juice, I needed to mix it properly. Using basins would mean filling 20 of them. Way too much hassle. So I traded some grain with a neighbor for 2 big water jars. We poured all the juice in, added water at the 1:9 ratio, then filled the rest with limestone powder. Both jars were packed full. I checked the mixture carefully, made sure everything was right, and covered them to keep the dust out. Tomorrow we'd just need to dry it and sift it. The old cloth sifter wouldn't cut it anymore at this scale. So we went to the hills, cut some bamboo, and built a bigger sifter with bamboo and cloth. You just had to put the powder on top and shake. The fine stuff fell through on its own. Much easier than before. That night, I held a quick meeting with everyone. We hired outside help, but they only do the basic work. The core stuff. Making the medicine stays with us. Nobody else touches it. I kept my face serious. Medicine was a gold mine, and if word got out about the recipe, people would come after it. Compared to limestone, this was the real profit. All the girls nodded solemnly. Their little serious faces made me laugh. Maybe I'd been too intense. I put Li Xiaoqian in charge of tracking wages. She was from the modern world too, so basic bookkeeping should be easy for her. She quietly agreed, which surprised everyone. They'd expected her to say something snarky. I just want a good life, she mumbled, turning red. Is that wrong? Sure smoothed things over gently. I assigned the rest of the tasks. Sure led the herb gathering. Yin oversaw the mining. Shaoran handled limestone production, with Xiaoqian assisting, and Cici cooked and handled whatever else came up. Our first goal, I announced, is to save enough to buy that big house. I wasn't planning to sell all the medicine right away, though. The price I was charging was too low. I'd hold some back and sell it later when I could get a better deal. When the girls heard about the house, they were thrilled. Yin got so excited she ran over and planted a big loud kiss right on my face. Then she froze, realizing what she'd done. Everyone was staring at her with teasing grins. Her face turned bright red. I was just happy, she stammered. The other girls left for the night with knowing smiles. Yin tried to follow them, but I caught her wrist. She looked up at me, saw the look in my eyes, and her face turned even redder. That night was energetic. My stamina had improved a lot from eating well lately. Good thing Yin was naturally strong. Anyone else might not have kept up. The next morning, the girls were already up and had breakfast ready before I even woke. Looking at Yin's glowing face, I couldn't help staring. She looked even prettier today. I still had business to take care of, though. I headed over to Uncle Lisan's place to check on the juicing machine I'd asked him to make. Yesterday, 6 of us had nearly killed ourselves squeezing herbs by hand. Never again. When I got there, he grinned and handed it over. It was a simple manual press with a lever and some gears. Nothing fancy, but you didn't need much strength to operate it. No electricity in this era, unfortunately, or it would have been even easier. Perfect. Exactly what I needed, I said, thrilled. Uncle San, I also need you to make some farming tools I designed. No problem. I left him some silver. He tried to refuse it, but I shook my head. Uncle San, this is my livelihood now. And I'm not asking for just 1 or 2 things. You've got material costs and labor to cover. It's only fair. Lisan hesitated about taking my money, but I talked him into it. Uncle San, if I don't buy from you, I'll buy from someone else. This way we help each other. Besides, my business is only going to grow. I'll need you around for a long time. That hit home. His blacksmith shop wasn't doing great. Farming tools didn't break often, and nobody had money to buy weapons. If it weren't for his wives working hard, he'd barely eat. Out of 3 blacksmith shops left in town, his was struggling the most. He was curious about the juicing machine, so I grabbed some greens from his garden, chopped them up, and tossed them in. One crank of the handle and green juice came pouring out the bottom. His eyes went wide. Xiaofan, what is this? It's a juicer, I said. I needed to make something. I told him to keep it secret if anyone asked. Simple as it looked, nobody in this era had thought of it. It was my invention, and I planned to improve it later. Maybe even adapt it for grinding grain using gears and levers. Understood. Your uncle knows how to keep quiet, he said. I promised him we'd drink together once I had things sorted out. His eyes lit up. He loved drinking, but hadn't been able to afford it in years. On my way home with the juicer, I spotted someone lurking near my door. Li Daniu. Uncle Daniu. Here to pay me back? I grinned. You, don't push me too far, Lin Xiaofan. He was furious. I'd taken his money multiple times, and now my hiring had excluded his wives. He was sure I'd done it on purpose. When have I ever bullied you? I asked innocently. Just then, Big Sister Li and the other women came back carrying baskets. Li Daniu sneered at them. You're all fools for working here. Watch. He won't have money to pay you. The women stopped and turned on him like a pack of wolves. Whether he pays us is none of your business, Big Sister Li snapped. We know you tried to get your women hired and didn't make the cut. His face went purple. I never wanted to work here anyway. You wish you could. Now get lost before I beat you out of here. One woman grabbed the thickest piece of firewood from my yard and charged at him. Li Daniu's eyes went wide and he bolted, shouting over his shoulder that I was broke and would never pay them. The women turned to me with warm smiles. Xiaofan, We believe in you, I smiled back, but privately I thought, these women were fierce. If I actually failed to pay them, I'd be the one running for my life. I pictured myself sprinting down the road with 40 angry workers chasing me. The image was terrifying. I checked on the drying medicine. The sun had been strong these past 2 days, and it was almost ready. Cece greeted me cheerfully and told me to rest while she handled the rest. She was excited. One more batch sold, and we could afford the big house. Our current place was so cramped that 5 people couldn't even turn over in their sleep. I'm not tired. I'll help, I said, crouching down beside her. Then I heard the village chief's panicked voice from outside. Xiaofan, Xiaofan, come out quick. People from the magistrate's office are here for you. I put down what I was doing and went to open the door. The village chief was standing there, gasping for air like he'd sprinted the whole way. Xiaofan, 2 men from the magistrate's office are here looking for you. Did you do something wrong? Tell me, maybe I can help. If things are bad, we can hide you. I just smiled. Relax, Uncle Da. I've only ever done honest business. They're probably here to talk about a deal. He wasn't convinced. He said government officials never came to people's homes. They'd send a message and make you go to them. And their attitude hadn't seemed friendly. Cece rushed over too, looking nervous. Husband, what do they want? In her mind, once the government got their hands on you, you wouldn't come back in one piece. She worried that maybe some rich family had sent them to drag me in and force the medicine recipe out of me. I leaned close to her ear. Don't worry. I know the head constable personally. He even calls me Brother Len. She turned bright red from the warm breath on her ear. I patted her head and told her to stay home and cook. I'd be back soon. When I reached the village entrance, a crowd had already gathered. People swarmed around me asking what was going on, offering to help. I was their future employer. They had a stake in my safety. It's fine, everyone. The magistrate's office just has some business to discuss. I'll be back soon. That shocked them. I was already at a level where I could discuss business with the government. Then Li Daniu's sneering voice cut through the crowd. Huh, I bet you got caught doing something illegal. Discuss business, sure. Why not say the county magistrate needs your help? All that money probably came from stealing. The women workers shut him down instantly. Watch your mouth, Li Daniu. If they're arresting anyone, it'd be you. Get out of here before you ruin everyone's mood. He turned pale, but didn't dare argue back. One man against a group of these fierce women? He'd lose every time. Shirshir and Yin Yin came out from the crowd, calm as could be. Yin Yin had already told Shirshir about my friendship with Constable Bao, so neither of them was worried. Shirshir stepped forward and gently straightened my clothes. Come back soon, husband. We'll be waiting. The 2 officers walked up, one tall and thin, the other short and fat. The short one waved impatiently. Enough with the goodbyes. Let's go before we end up working overtime again. If Constable Bao hadn't specifically told them to treat me well, they would have just barged in and dragged me out. Let's go, I said. The sooner I left, the sooner I'd be back. An uncle from the crowd called out, Xiaofan, you really didn't do anything wrong? A woman added nervously, if something happens to you, our wages. She caught herself. I'm not worried about the money. It's just that we've been working really hard these past 2 days, and the workers had only been with me 2 days. If I got arrested and lost everything, their wages would vanish too. They didn't mind hard work. They just couldn't afford to work for nothing. A few people looked at me with doubt. To them, I was just a limestone seller who'd been in business a few days. How could someone like me have connections with the government? I kept my cool. I've never broken the law. If you don't trust me, go find Shirshir right now, collect your wages, and leave. I won't hire you again. I told Shirshir to pay anyone who wanted out, then turned and walked away with the 2 officers without looking back. The crowd stood there torn. Leave and get their money now, but lose a great job if I was fine? Stay and risk getting nothing if I was in real trouble? Li Daniu stirred the pot. You really think that peasant has connections? I'd take the money and run. Nobody argued with him this time. The silence was heavy. Then, to everyone's surprise, Li Ermatzi stepped forward first. I've watched Xiaofan grow up. He may be poor, but he's honest. He wouldn't lie. I believe he's going to discuss business. He bowed to the crowd, told his wife to keep working under Shirshir, and walked away. Big Sister Li and the others followed his lead. In the end, every single worker stayed. Li Daniu stood alone, fuming. The walk to town took about an hour. The short officer knocked on a door. Constable Bao, we brought him. Heavy footsteps rushed toward us, and the door swung open. There stood Bao Tianqing, huge as a mountain. Brother Lin, come in, come in. He waved the officers away. The two men exchanged stunned looks. This teenage village kid, and the constable was treating him like an honored guest? His room was neat and tastefully decorated, not what I'd expected from a man built like a bear. He poured us both tea. I was thirsty from the walk and drained my cup in one gulp. Not bad, actually. Who knew the big guy had refined taste? How's the medicine working? I asked. He leapt to his feet. It's incredible. Like a miracle. You sprinkle it on, and the bleeding stops. Half an hour later, the wound starts scabbing. It saved several of my men's lives. He bowed deeply. No exaggeration. He meant every word. I waved him off modestly. I just stumbled on the recipe. I'm no miracle doctor. Then his expression turned serious. Brother Lin, I need a favor. I raised an eyebrow. In this town, only the county magistrate outranked this man. What could possibly be a problem for him? The 5 boxes you sold me are all used up. I need more. As much as you can spare. I almost laughed. I'd expected some difficult request. Turns out it was just business walking right to my door. How many do you want? As many as you've got. Whatever you can produce, I'll buy it all. The magistrate's office has the budget. He was thinking maybe a few dozen boxes at most, figuring the ingredients had to be rare and expensive. What he didn't know was that I had enough back home to fill over 1,000 boxes. Constable Bao, I've actually got quite a lot. I'm more worried you can't afford it all, I said with a grin. Give me a number. That annoyed him slightly. Can't afford it? The magistrate's public funds could handle plenty. He opened his mouth to argue, but when he met my calm, steady gaze, he swallowed whatever he was going to say. After a pause, Bao Tianqing said, 100 boxes. Do you have that many? Only 100? Of course I do. I asked him why the office was burning through medicine so fast. He sighed heavily and explained. A group of roaming bandits had appeared in the area recently. They were cunning. They'd attack and vanish before anyone could catch them. What made it worse was they specifically targeted his officers. They'd beat them badly but never kill them, then walk away like it was a joke. Without my medicine, some of his men might have died. I hadn't realized things were this dangerous. I'd assumed life outside the battlefield was peaceful. Clearly not. They're doing it on purpose, I said. They're taunting the magistrate's office. Bao Tianqing nodded bitterly. He couldn't send men out alone anymore. When they went in groups, the bandits hid. When someone fell behind, they struck. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. Brother Lin, be careful with your medicine. These bandits rob people, and robbers get hurt. You're the only one in town with hemostatic medicine. If they find out about you, my heart went cold. These were killers. If they came after me, I couldn't fight them. And my 5 beautiful wives, I didn't even want to think about it. All my excitement about the huge batch of medicine at home vanished instantly. I needed to stay low and grow quietly. First thing to do once I had money, hire some bodyguards. For now, they seemed to be targeting wealthy households, Bao Tianqing added. That calmed me a little. A poor kid from a village probably wasn't on their radar yet. He asked if I had any ideas for catching them. I thought for a moment, but came up empty. Let me think about it when I get home. I can't promise anything, but I'll try. He nodded, then slapped his forehead. I almost forgot the most important thing. He pulled out a banknote. 100 taels of silver. Payment in full for the 100 boxes I hadn't even delivered yet. I was stunned. He was handing me this much money without seeing a single box? What if I just ran off with it? What's wrong? Too little, he joked. I know I'm getting a good deal from you, but the office budget is tight. No, that's not it, I said, genuinely moved. You just trust me that much? This man was the real deal. I silently promised myself I'd help him catch those bandits. Not just for his sake, but for mine. I knew better than anyone how much people would covet my medicine. Helping him was helping myself. That's how noble I am. I pocketed the banknote. 100 taels. With this, I could buy that big house right away. The girls would be so happy. And once we moved in, I'd finally have proper space. Cece and I could. Well, that was definitely going on the schedule. My steps felt lighter the whole way out. Bao Tianqing walked me all the way to the gate. Get the medicine to me as soon as you can, Brother Lin. I'm completely out, and my men could get hurt again any day. I'll deliver soon. And I'll work on a plan for the bandits too. I promise. He looked touched. He'd only been venting, not seriously asking. But I'd taken it to heart. Behind me, I didn't see him stroking his chin, thinking about his younger sister who was almost 16 and how I might make a good match. I turned the corner and nearly crashed into someone. I looked up and froze. Uncle Da, what are you doing here? The village chief was waiting for me right outside the magistrate's gate. At his age, he wouldn't come to town unless it was serious. I was worried about you, he said, patting my shoulder. I know a constable here and thought I could help. But look at you, walking out just fine, with the head constable himself calling you Brother Lin. You've got yourself a real backer now. I felt bad that he'd run all this way for me. The man was over 60. He insisted he was tough, thumping his chest to prove it. Since we were already in town, I suggested we walk around together. He kept pointing out shops and telling me stories. That used to be a restaurant, gone now. That was a horse market. Bandits raided it one night. That caught my attention. There were bandits here before, he nodded. 5 years ago, during a famine, a group of desperate people turned to banditry. 30 or 40 of them, all armed. They'd fight when they outnumbered the law and run when they didn't. The magistrate's office couldn't stop them. A lot of people died. They only robbed in town, though villagers had so little that it wasn't worth the trouble. Why do you ask? Are there bandits again? He said, suddenly worried. Yes, I told him. But here's what's strange. Constable Bao asked me for ideas on how to deal with them. Shouldn't the office know what worked last time? The chief shook his head. Last time, the government sent soldiers. Archers and cavalry set up an ambush and wiped them out in one strike. But with the war dragging on, they can't spare any soldiers now. Something clicked in my head. Archers. That was the key. The bandits survived because they never stood and fought. They'd retreat the moment they sensed a trap. Regular officers couldn't stop them from escaping. But archers could hit them from a distance before they had a chance to run. What if I could get the magistrate's office a group of archers? I asked. The chief thought it over and nodded. That would work. But training archers takes 2 or 3 years, and anyone who can shoot is already at the front lines. I smiled. Don't worry. I have a plan. Training archers took years, sure. But training crossbowmen only took days. In my previous life, I'd been fascinated by this stuff. I knew crossbow designs by heart. With Uncle Li San's blacksmithing skills and Constable Bao's support, building them wouldn't be hard. We reached the grain shop. I wanted to buy some extra food as a reward for my workers. They'd stayed loyal today when things looked uncertain, and I appreciated that. My plan was to give each of them 10 jin of grain now, then set up a bonus system based on performance. At the shop entrance, several workers were eyeing customers, trying to spot the big spenders. Last time I came here in ragged clothes, nobody even looked at me. Only the youngest worker had bothered to help. This time was different. I'd filled out from eating well, my face had color, and I was wearing clean, decent clothes. One worker rushed forward with a big smile, then did a double take. He recognized me as the customer who'd bought 6 sure of premium grain last time. Suddenly, they all wanted to serve me. Right this way, sir. I've worked here 10 years. Let me show you around. I stood there feeling a mix of emotions. Funny how things change when people think you have money. I scanned the crowd of eager shop workers and spotted Xiao Yu hiding in the back, the young one who'd helped me last time when nobody else would. I waved her over. You again. Her face lit up as she pushed through the crowd. She'd been about to miss her sales target this month, and here I was saving her numbers again. The other workers looked sick with regret. If only they'd recognized me last time. What would you like today, sir? She asked carefully. I looked around. Premium grain was too expensive for what I needed. I'd buy mid-grade grain to give as bonuses to my workers. If I buy enough, can you deliver it to my village? Yes, for 8 sure or more, she said, then glanced at my expression. I was actually just thinking about crossbow designs and hadn't responded. She panicked and quickly lowered it. For you, 6 sure would be fine. I smiled at how nervous she was. 6 sure worked out well anyway, 720 jin. I'd hand out 400 now and save the rest for when I hired more people later. As she went to prepare my order, I noticed her sneaking glances at me, her cheeks turning pink. I pretended not to notice. Then an older man appeared behind me, well-dressed, clearly a household manager. Sir, our master would like to meet you. Would you honor us with a visit? The owner of 100 Families Grain Shop? I was curious. Sure had told me this place had serious government connections behind it. Uncle Da nudged me. The owner here is a big figure. Making connections like this would be good for your business. I agreed and followed the manager deeper into the shop, past the selling area, through the storage section, and through a fine redwood door into a hidden courtyard. It was beautiful, flowers, a pavilion, a wooden cottage. Like a secret garden. The land here in the town center must have cost a fortune. The manager knocked on the cottage door. "Miss, I've brought him, miss." The owner was a woman? In an era where men ruled everything, a woman running a business this large was extraordinary. She had to be either incredibly talented or incredibly well-connected. The door opened, and I froze. She was about 20, slender, wearing a red dress that hugged her narrow waist. Curved eyebrows, bright eyes, lips like cherries, and a soft smile that could steal your soul. In 2 lifetimes, she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. Every bit as stunning as any of my wives. "Mr. Lin? Please, come in." Her voice was gentle, like flowing water. I snapped out of it and stepped inside. The room smelled of flowers. Simple furnishings, a bed, a table, a vanity, surrounded by beautiful potted plants in every color. A little maid in pink stood to the side, staring at me with wide, curious eyes. She was short, with her hair in 2 round buns and chubby cheeks that made you want to pinch them. The maid poured us tea. "I've heard you're a man of exceptional quality, Mr. Lin. Now that we've met, I can see it's true," the woman said. I laughed at myself inwardly. Exceptional quality, right. But I'd spent years in the corporate world, and flattery was a game I never lost. "You're too kind. I'm just an ordinary person. But you, running a business this successful as a woman in these times? That's truly remarkable. I'm genuinely impressed," she smiled, and I could tell I'd just earned some points. Matsi stood there looking a bit awkward but pleased. He'd always had a SOSO social life in the village. His only real friend had been Li Daniu. After he spoke up for me this morning, Daniu stopped talking to him. He'd been worried he'd made a mistake. But now everyone was being friendly with him, while Daniu was lying on the ground spitting blood, and nobody even bothered to help him up. Matsi was glad he hadn't let jealousy get the better of him. Back at my house, Cece and Shur were trying to sew clothes, but their minds were elsewhere. Cece kept pricking her finger 10 times in 1 hour. She'd never been this clumsy. She was worried about me, and she didn't really believe I'd gone to discuss business with the government. Every few minutes, Shaoran came running from the backyard to ask if there was any news. She must have checked over a dozen times. Even Xiao Qian was muttering about me, worried in her own way. If something happened to me, she'd have to start over with a new husband, and it probably wouldn't be as good as this. Then came a knock at the door. Cece rushed over so fast, she nearly tripped on the doorstep. But it wasn't me. It was a delivery driver from 100 Family's grain shop. "Is this Lin Xiaofan's home? He bought 6 sure of grain. I'm here to deliver." Cece froze like she'd been struck by lightning. "He bought grain? When?" The driver backed up a step, startled by how intense she was. "About an hour ago. He's one of our VIP customers, so I rushed it over. So he's okay." Cece's face broke into pure joy. She practically jumped up and down, barely able to form sentences. She hugged Sharon tight. "He's fine. He really was there on business." By the time Uncle Da and I got back to the village, the sun was setting. No time to make more medicine today, but that was all right. Winter was coming, and the 4-herb grass would only last a few more days. I could turn the stored herbs into medicine slowly over the winter. At the village entrance, I ran into Shur and her group of workers coming back with full baskets, chatting and laughing. I could hear Big Sister Li's booming voice from 30 meters away, asking Shur if I really knew Constable Bao. When they spotted me, everyone relaxed. I was back safe. They'd made the right bet by staying. Shur walked over to me. I grabbed her hand. "Miss me?" All the women around us started whistling and teasing, and Shur's face turned deep red. She was used to me holding her hand in public by now, but the crowd's reaction was too much. Big Sister Li grinned knowingly. "Xiaofan, get home early. You've got 5 wives. Better start working on that birth quota before it catches up to you." Then she walked off, giving us space. The other workers followed her lead, and soon it was just the 2 of us strolling home in the fading light. Shur told me what happened after I left. Matsi was the first to say he believed you. After that, everyone else stayed too. That surprised me. I remembered Matsi's jealous face when he saw all my shopping the other day, but he came through when it counted. He'd always been decent to me, and we'd never had a real falling out. I made a mental note to look out for his family when I needed more workers. But 3 people were pulled away by their families this afternoon, Shershur added. Their families came and took them away because you hadn't come back, Shershur told me, her expression darkening. They said you were never coming back. They said all your money came from stealing. That made me angry, but I calmed down once I knew they hadn't said anything against Shershur directly. If they'd disrespected her, I would have made them pay. But just trash-talking me? Whatever. They chose not to trust me, so let them go. Plenty of people wanted these jobs. Did you settle their wages? Yes, half a day's pay, just like you said. Good. Better to pay them clean and leave no loose ends for anyone to complain about later. Cut ties with those 3 families. Tomorrow I'll ask Uncle Da to find 3 replacements. We hadn't walked much further when 3 men appeared in front of us. Li Zhenghua, Li Zhengkai, and Li Zhengying. 3 brothers, all in their 40s, about the same height, looking roughly alike. I dug through my memories. They were known around the village for 2 things, being shameless and never doing any real work. Their land was poor, making them one of the poorest families. Once they'd expanded their yard onto a neighbor's land and never paid a single coin in compensation, just stalling forever with their thick skin. The chief had only let their wives join my crew because the family was so desperate. And now, here they were, grinning at me. Xiaofan, you're back. How'd the business go? We were so worried about you. Shershur whispered in my ear. Those are the 3 who pulled their wives out this afternoon. I already knew what they wanted. Hours ago, they were cursing my name, and now they were crawling back for the spots they'd thrown away. The nerve. Even in my previous life, I'd rarely met people this shameless. But fine, I wanted to see just how far they'd go. I put on my most innocent smile. Thanks for asking, uncles. Business went great. Things are only going to get better from here. They exchanged glances, sensing an opening. I was just a naive 16-year-old kid, right? A little pressure and some elder respect guilt should do the trick. The oldest brother, Zhenghua, stepped forward with a fake smile. Xiaofan, about this afternoon, that was just a joke. Don't take it seriously. How about you rehire our wives? Classic move. Frame a refusal as disrespecting your elders. But I'd spent years in the modern corporate world. Moral blackmail from these 3? Please. I furrowed my brow with perfect confusion. Uncle Hua, I was in town all afternoon. I didn't see you at all. What happened? I have no idea what you're talking about. He froze. This wasn't how the script was supposed to go. He couldn't exactly say, well, we dragged our wives off the job and told everyone you were a criminal, but it was all a joke. Even his thick skin couldn't stretch that far. The second brother jumped in. Xiaofan, the thing is, we had a family emergency this afternoon, so we picked up our wives early. That's all. Not a word about the insults. Smooth. I smiled warmly. Oh, that's perfectly fine. Family comes first. Sure. Did you pay them for half a day? If not, make sure they get it. Sure caught my look and played along, barely hiding her grin. Already paid. Gave them half a day's wages on the mountain. Now they were stuck. They'd expected me to say I wouldn't rehire their wives, and then they'd guilt me into it. But I was making them explain what actually happened first, and they couldn't do that without admitting they'd badmouthed me. The third brother, Zhengying, saw his brothers failing and cut straight to the point. Xiaofan, just tell us, can you rehire our wives? They're hard workers. I promise they'll pick 30% more than anyone else. If they don't, you can dock their pay. I kept playing dumb. Wait, your wives were let go? What happened this afternoon? Can someone tell me? By now a crowd had gathered. Everyone already knew what these 3 had done. Word travels fast in a village. They just wanted to see how this played out. Zhenghua finally dropped the act. Fine, I'll be straight with you. We went and pulled our wives out today. You know our families are the poorest in the village. Without this work, we might not survive winter. We're your elders. Can't you give us another chance? Still no mention of the insults. Classic. Big Sister Li marched out of the crowd, hands on her hips. Oh, this afternoon you were saying Xiaofan was a thief and a criminal. Now suddenly you're his uncles? If we build a wall out of your faces, the whole country wouldn't need an army. She had a personal grudge. These 3 had stolen a piece of her family's land years ago and never compensated her. This was her chance to get even and earn points with me at the same time. Zhenghua's face went dark. Mind your own business, woman. I'm talking to Xiaofan. Big Sister Li ignored him and turned to me. Xiaofan, don't you dare let them off. They said terrible things about you this afternoon. Shut up and get out of here. Zhenghua lunged toward her. I grabbed his wrist and held it still. These brothers never worked, barely ate, and had zero strength. After 2 weeks of good food and recovery, I was stronger than all three of them. Zhenghua tried to pull free, but couldn't budge. He was about to explode, but then he met my eyes. The look on my face wasn't the harmless teenage smile anymore. It was cold, ice cold. All his anger drained away instantly. So you did talk behind my back today, I said, my voice flat. The three of them flinched. They'd heard the rumors spreading through the village that I had connections with the biggest grain shop in town and with the magistrate's office. If I really wanted to make trouble for them, one word to the right person and they'd be destroyed. It was a misunderstanding. All a misunderstanding. Jinkai jumped in, trying to pull his brother away from me. We were just joking. It's our fault. We apologize. Sweat was pouring down their faces. I slapped each of them across the face. 1, 2, 3. Their heads snapped sideways. These cheeks are thick, I said, shaking out my stinging hand. Hurt my palm. Well done. Big sisterly clapped from the sidelines. Several villagers clenched their fists with quiet satisfaction. They'd been annoyed with these three for a long time. The brothers glared at me, furious. They'd never been slapped in their lives. Being hit in front of the whole village. How would they ever show their faces again? But I had power behind me, and they had nothing. They couldn't fight back. I smiled. Not happy about it. How about we go to the magistrate's office tomorrow and let them decide who's right? The mention of the magistrate's office drained every drop of fight out of them. If it went to the government, with my connections, they'd be crushed, even if they were in the right. And not a single villager here would speak up for them. No, it's all our fault. Zheng Ying, the most cowardly one, started slapping his own face to show how sorry he was. I clicked my tongue. These three really could bend and stretch, shameless to the bone. I don't know, I said, pretending to think it over. You still don't seem very sorry. Maybe we should visit the magistrate after all. That did it. Zhenghua gritted his teeth and slapped himself hard, several times, leaving bright red handprints on his cheeks. Xiaofan, it's completely our fault. We apologize. He elbowed his brothers, and they both followed suit, smacking themselves and bowing. I nodded at the three brothers. Fine. You admitted your mistake, so I'll give you one more chance. But if there's a next time, don't expect mercy. I walked past them and headed home. Sure followed, smiling. Husband, that was amazing. Those three have been bullying this village with their thick skin for years, and you shut them down just like that. With their brains, it's a miracle they've survived this long, I said, shaking my head. When we got home, Cece threw herself at me. You're finally back, Sharon laughed. You should have seen her, husband. After you left, she was so worried she stabbed herself with the sewing needle over a dozen times. I took Cece's hand and looked at her fingers, little red dots and dried blood everywhere. My heart ached. I lifted her hand to my lips and blew on it gently. Her face turned bright red. It doesn't hurt anymore, she whispered. Sharon giggled, and Cece fired back. Don't laugh at me. You came asking about him every few minutes. Over a dozen times in 1 hour. Over dinner, I got down to business. We need to work late tonight. I need 100 boxes of medicine ready by tomorrow morning. The magistrate's office is sending someone to pick them up. Cece's eyes went wide. 100 boxes? That's 100 taels of silver. I pulled out the bank note and set it on the table. Every single one of them stared at it. None of them had ever seen 5 taels in their lives, let alone 100. It felt like a dream. Don't worry, husband, Cece said, fire in her eyes. Even if I don't sleep tonight, I'll get it done. The others were just as charged up. Money like this made sleep feel optional. While we worked, I laid out my plans. Winter's coming. The 4-herb grass will be gone soon, so the medicine business is seasonal. I want to buy that big house near the mine, hire more people, build 2 proper kilns, and go big on limestone. It's less profit per unit, but it's year-round. Husband, you decide these things, Shursher said. The others all agreed. Even Xiaoqian gave a small nod. 2 weeks ago, they'd been starving. Now we had over 100 taels. They trusted me completely. We worked until midnight and slept maybe 4 hours. Before dawn, the rooster crowed and everyone was up, checking and packaging the medicine. We didn't have enough wooden boxes, so I packed the rest in cloth bags. I stood in the yard watching the sunrise, yawning. The sky was half red, beautiful but eerie. Sure came up behind me, hair still down, eyes soft with worry. Husband, go back to sleep. We can handle the rest. I pulled her into my arms and kissed her cheek. I'm fine. Knowing I have beautiful wives waiting for me gives me all the energy I need. She melted against me, barely able to stand. You push yourself too hard, she murmured. Just as the sun was fully up, a booming voice came from outside. Brother Lin, I'm here. I opened the door. Bao Tianxing stood there with the same two officers from yesterday, the tall thin one and the short fat one. This time, both of them bowed to me respectfully. They'd clearly been told about my relationship with their boss. I invited them in. Bao Tianxing sat down, took a drink of water, and his face turned serious. Brother Lin, we used up all the medicine. I came early because I'm afraid more of my men will get hurt. And those bandits, they raided a village 2 days ago. Killed someone this time. I frowned when I heard about the killing. These bandits were getting bolder, robbing grain and now murdering people. If they hit our village, it would be a disaster. They were only 30 or 40 men, but every one of them was a desperate killer with a weapon. Our village had maybe 50 men total, and most of them were lazy and weak. As long as the bandits didn't take all the winter food, nobody would risk their life fighting back. That meant we'd lose a huge amount of grain, and someone might die. These bandits loved killing to send a message. Bao Tianxing saw the worry on my face. Brother Lin, I have an idea. Move into the magistrate's office with your wives. I'll set up a room for you. Stay until we deal with the bandits. I thought about it seriously. These people really did kill. I'd never faced a real threat to my life, not in either lifetime. But after a long pause, I shook my head. No, if I leave, the whole village will panic. Besides, bandits usually don't kill unless they have to. He got anxious and tried to convince me again, but I cut him off. I'll stay, and if the bandits come, I'll lead the villagers and drive them back. He clearly didn't believe that part. In his mind, I was just a talented doctor. What could I know about fighting? But he didn't know the rest of my plan. Given a month, I could wipe them out entirely. What I was really thinking was this. The bandit crisis could actually work in my favor. Normally, the government would never allow villagers to arm and train themselves. But during a crisis like this, I could build a personal guard force loyal to me. And besides, waiting for the magistrate's office to solve this could take a year or more. My business was growing fast. I couldn't afford that kind of interruption. I'll send 2 of my injured men to stay with you, Bao Tianxing offered. They can't fight bandits right now, but they can protect you. That was a nice bonus. Anyone Bao Tianxing sent would know how to fight, even wounded. I brought out the medicine, 2 big cloth bags full. No wooden boxes this time. I'd run out. Bao Tianxing didn't mind. He hefted the bags and grinned. This is definitely more than 100 boxes, maybe 120. I'd thrown in extra on purpose. He'd paid me up front on pure trust. The least I could do was show some sincerity. And keeping good relations with officials was never a bad investment. He was about to leave when the smell of meat drifted out of the kitchen. All 3 stomachs growled at the same time, his and both officers. They'd skipped breakfast and walked an hour to get here. Bao Tianxing had just said his men were waiting for him back at the office. Now he scratched his head awkwardly. Well, actually, the boys can probably handle things for a little while. I tried not to laugh. The 2 officers had no objections either. On their wages, they only ate meat once or twice a month. Cece brought out a big pot of stewed meat and a pot of fine grain. The 3 of them practically started drooling before they sat down. I invited all my wives to eat with us, and Bao Tianxing waved it off. The more the merrier. Those 3 ate so much that Cece had to cook another batch before everyone was full. Bao Tianxing let out a huge belch and leaned back happily. He said the last time he'd eaten this well was after winning a major battle. I had a feeling he'd be visiting around mealtime a lot more often. After they left, I heard the short officer trying to convince Bao Tianxing to station him and his partner at my house instead. We're not that useful at the office anyway, and we could protect one person just fine. What they really wanted was the free meals. Bao Tianxing kicked them both and told them those spots were already reserved for Songshang and Tianyu. After breakfast, Yin Yin and I carried 100 jin of grain to Uncle Li San's place. He'd been feeding me for years when I had nothing. 100 jin didn't even begin to repay that. Plus, I'd need his blacksmithing skills for a long time to come. His door was open as usual. When he saw us and the 2 heavy sacks, his expression changed. Last month I'd been dirt poor. Now I was hauling 100 gene of grain like it was nothing. He looked me over. I was stronger, healthier, with color in my cheeks. Yin Yin was glowing too. He smiled, clearly relieved we were doing well. This is too much, Xiaofan. Take it back and save it. Uncle San, don't refuse yet. I actually need a favor. His face went serious instantly. Whatever it is, I'll help. Keep the grain. I realized he thought I was in some kind of trouble. It's nothing big, I said quickly. I just need you to make some bamboo tubes for me. He let out a breath. Bamboo tubes? That's it. How many? A few hundred. And I'll pay you for each one. He waved that off. Between us? No need. Uncle San, I'm going to need thousands of these next year. I can't have you working for free. 1 copper coin per tube. Don't argue. He protested that the price was too high. At his speed, he could make 200 or 300 a day. That would be more than he normally earned. And he didn't feel right taking that kind of money from me when I'd only just gotten back on my feet. Then he paused. What do you need all these tubes and boxes for anyway? I thought about it. Uncle Sen wasn't an outsider. I could trust him. I discovered a recipe for hemostatic medicine. The boxes and tubes are for packaging it. His eyes went wide. 6 years in the army, for years as a blacksmith. He knew exactly how precious hemostatic medicine was. The battlefield never had enough, and the towns had none at all. If all those containers were for medicine, I must have made over 100 taels already. And if I needed hundreds more containers, that meant hundreds more taels coming. His expression shifted to something I couldn't quite name. He looked emotional, almost overwhelmed. I knew why. When my father died on the battlefield, his last words to Li San were to look after me. When Li San came home from the war and found me passed out from hunger, he'd spoon-fed me back to life. Every month after that, he brought grain to keep me alive. He'd been prepared to take care of me forever if he had to. And now, the helpless boy he'd kept alive was making more money in a week than most people saw in a lifetime. He slapped my shoulder hard. Good. Wait here. I'll start right now. He accepted the payment without further argument. But I had a feeling he wouldn't spend a single coin of it. He'd save it all, just in case I ever needed help again. Just as Uncle Li San was about to start on the bamboo tubes, I stopped him. Uncle San, I have something more urgent. I told him about the bandits, 30 or 40 of them, raiding villages now. His face went dark. He'd spent years in the army hunting bandits and knew how dangerous they were. They fought when they had the advantage, ran when they didn't. The magistrate's office couldn't handle them, and the government couldn't spare soldiers from the front lines. So I want to build a weapon that can take them out, I said. He looked at me like I was crazy. Xiaofan, no single weapon can solve a bandit problem. Even the best weapons need trained soldiers behind them, I smiled. A repeating crossbow, he was confused. He knew about regular crossbows from the battlefield, powerful, long range, great penetration. But those were huge, impossible to move around, totally wrong for chasing bandits. Hear me out before you say no. I spent the entire afternoon explaining the design, the mechanics, and the key details. I had him sketch out each part as I described it. Everything I knew came from videos I'd watched in my previous life. Whether he could actually build it depended on his skill. He kept calling me a genius and even wanted me to become his blacksmithing apprentice. I turned him down. My whole plan after transmigrating was to take it easy. If I became a master craftsman, when would I ever relax? When I got home that evening, 2 big men were standing guard at my door. One of them grabbed my hand the moment he saw me, his eyes full of emotion. Brother Lin, remember me? You saved my life outside the pharmacy. I looked closer and recognized Song Shang, the officer whose arm had been slashed open that day. My medicine had pulled him back from the edge. His arm still wasn't fully healed. He could only use one hand. Of course I remember. You're a hero, fighting bandits to protect the people. He got embarrassed and waved it off, but I meant it. These men risked their lives every day for not much pay. The other man introduced himself as Tianyu. He was tall, muscular, carried a big bow on his back, but walked with a limp, injured leg. Both of them were banged up, but they could still help train people. I had some ideas about treating blade wounds too. Once they healed up, 2 men this size could handle 7 or 8 bandits on their own. And down the road, when the crisis passed, maybe I could recruit them as my personal guards. The magistrate's office didn't pay well, and my business was only going to grow. I noted Bao Tianqing's generosity too. Sending me 2 men was a real favor. Rest up for now, I told them. Tonight, we're going to visit the village chief. We need to talk about the bandits. As the sun went down, the three of us headed to Uncle Da's house. He was napping in a chair outside. I called his name and woke him up. He blinked at the two strangers beside me. Who are these two? Constable Bao sent them to protect me. He nodded. Made sense. With money came danger, especially in times like these. Uncle Da, I need to talk to you about something extremely urgent. I looked the chief dead in the eye. I got word from the magistrate's office. There's a group of bandits nearby, 30 or 40 of them. A few days ago, they raided a village and killed 2 people. His eyes went wide. That's impossible. Last time bandits never touched the villages. I shook my head. Things are different now. Last time there was a famine, villages had nothing worth stealing. But this year's harvest was good. Every family has grain. For bandits, villages are easier targets than the town. He nodded slowly, the color draining from his face. And last time, I continued, the government sent soldiers to help. This time, with the war, nobody's coming. The bandits know it too. That's why they're killing without hesitation. The chief started to panic. He was the village leader. If bandits showed up, he'd be the one going out to negotiate, and probably the first one getting cut. What do we do? The army won't help. The magistrate can't help. Xiaofan, think of something. I already had a plan. This was actually the perfect opportunity to build my own force. But I couldn't make it about me. It had to be the village's idea, the village's need. Nobody would risk their neck to protect some merchant. But protecting their own families and grain, that would get everyone moving. Uncle Da, calm down. Here's what I'm thinking. We build a village guard. 20 men, 20 women. Give me 6 or 7 days, and I'll have them armed. When the bandits see 40 armed defenders, they won't dare attack. He looked stunned. Nothing like this had ever been done before. Xiaofan, if the authorities find out we're arming ourselves, that's what these two are for, I said, gesturing at Songshang and Tianyu. They're government officers. They can vouch that this is purely self-defense. He saw the logic, but raised 2 more problems. First, guarding was dangerous. Nobody would volunteer. Second, even with weapons, training people wasn't easy. I'd thought of all that. It's voluntary. Every family should want to participate. They're protecting themselves, not me. We'll pick people with some physical ability. And since training takes time away from work, I'll compensate them. Men get 15 coins a day, women get 12, plus 3 meals. The chief's brain seemed to short-circuit for a second. 15 coins plus meals was over 20 coins worth of income daily. More than 2 days of work in town. His mouth hung open. Xiaofan, you're not joking. These people might have to fight for their lives. The pay has to match the risk. His face broke into something between joy and disbelief. My offer meant 40 more families with stable income, and the whole village would be safer. Even the danger wasn't that bad. Bandits wouldn't be stupid enough to attack a village with 40 armed guards. And without a guard, people would get killed anyway. But skip the meals, he said. Feeding 40 people every day is expensive, and you'd need a cook. Just the wages will be enough? He got emotional, looking like he was about to kneel again. I quickly changed the subject. Uncle Da, this can't wait. Go call everyone together. Let's settle this tonight. He took off running through the village, sending people out to spread the word. Within half an hour, most of the village had gathered. This time, nobody was impatient or complaining. Every face was eager and expectant. People were already crowding around before everyone had arrived. Some were trying to sweet-talk me for a good position. One woman even claimed to be my great-aunt's second cousin's third uncle's daughter. I didn't even know how to respond to that. Once Shershir's group returned from gathering herbs, everyone was here. The chief cleared his throat. This is serious. Bandits are active again. Nobody looked worried. Last time bandits came through, they only robbed in town and left the villages alone. So the chief laid it out plainly. This time is different. They're targeting villages. A few days ago, they raided one and killed people. That got their attention. They killed people. They took the grain too. What about next year? Won't the government help? People started panicking, turning to the chief for answers. He pointed them to me. Xiaofan has a plan, but it depends on whether you're willing. What is it? Tell us. They were clutching at anything now. We build our own village guard. 20 men, 20 women. Xiaofan pays for the weapons and equipment. But the guard has to follow his orders completely. The crowd discussed it in low voices. Most agreed it made sense. 40 armed villagers would scare bandits off. But then came the real question. who would actually join? This was risking your life. Everyone went silent. Nobody wanted to volunteer. Just as the chief and I were about to bring up the pay, a loud voice cut through the crowd. I'll join. It was a young man, 16 or 17, with a square jaw and sharp eyes. Built strong for his age. Li Hu. 3 retired soldiers signed up after him. Then nothing. Li Hu stepped forward and faced the crowd, his voice hard with anger. When the bandits come, do you think they'll care who you are? Will they ask nicely before they kill you? Even if they only take your grain, winter is coming. How will your families of 10 or 20 survive? You'll stand there drinking the cold wind. He pointed at me. Xiao Fan is doing this for all of you. He's paying out of his own pocket. And you're still hesitating? Heads dropped all around. He was right, and everyone knew it. Then the chief announced the pay. Guard members get 15 coins a day for men, 12 for women. Xiao Fan is covering it all. Dead silence. Then the dam broke. Sign me up. Me too. I want in. Big Sister Li rushed forward. Xiao Fan, can I join too? Others from Shishi's herb-gathering crew followed. I told them everyone could try out, and joining the guard wouldn't cost them their current jobs. Over 100 people signed up. The chief and I screened them down to about 60 based on physical ability. No family quotas this time, just strength and fitness. Tomorrow I'd test them further and pick the top 40. One last thing. I called out a name. Li Hu. He stepped forward from the line. Starting today, you're the guard captain. Your pay is 25 coins a day. Stay behind after everyone leaves. I need to go over some things with you. Li Hu's eyes lit up. Thank you, Xiao Fan. I won't let you down. 25 coins a day was more than his whole family earned combined. It was getting late, so I sent everyone home and told them to gather at my yard first thing in the morning. Back at the house, Shishi looked worried. Husband, did the bandits really raid a village? Yes. What about us? Don't worry. Our village is poor. They'll go for richer targets first. That was true, but I knew I had to be careful. No showing off my wealth. I just needed time. 7, maybe 10 days, and our village would be untouchable. That night, Shishi brought hot water and washed my feet while Sharon massaged my shoulders. I tried to refuse, but they wouldn't have it. We feel bad that everything falls on you, they said. Looking at these 2 beautiful women taking care of me so tenderly, my heart was warm. I swore I'd give them a good life, starting with getting rid of this broken-down house. The next morning, all 60 candidates packed into my tiny yard. When everyone was ready, I led them to the hills behind the village. Fresh air, sunrise, perfect for training. I designed 2 tests, running and weightlifting. I'd originally wanted loaded runs, but there wasn't time to prepare enough stones. Li Hu led the run. Anyone who fell behind lost points. These were all people the chief and I had screened, and years of farming had given them decent stamina. Nobody dropped out until the 3-kilometer mark. At 5 kilometers, more started falling back. By 8 kilometers, only 4 men were still keeping pace with Li Hu, all former soldiers. 6 years on a battlefield and still alive, those guys had real grit. You 4 are now squad leaders. 10 people each. After a rest, we did the weightlifting, different sized stones, lightest to heaviest, 1 attempt each. Simple way to rank everyone's strength. During the break, I pulled Li Hu and the 4 captains aside and walked them through the training program I designed, based on military routines from my previous life. By the end of the day, I had my 40, each squad made up of 5 men and 5 women. The next day, I went to see Uncle Da about the house. The one I wanted was at the base of the stone mine, built by a rich merchant as a summer retreat. He'd moved to the capital and left instructions to sell it for no less than 40 taels. The chief tried to talk me out of it. That's a lot of money. There's a cheaper place on the west side of the village, 15 taels. I shook my head. It's not just for living. I need space nearby for kills to burn limestone, and the mine is right there, so hauling stone will be easy. Plus the open land is perfect for training the guard. He thought it over and agreed. He also lent me his ox cart for moving our things. 3 days later, a heavy rain came and the temperature dropped hard. Winter was closing in. The 4-herb grass out in the wild was all dead now. My workers switched from gathering herbs to building kills. We moved into the new house. It was clean and spacious, a different world from our old shack. The guard kept training every day on the schedule I created. After 3 days, everyone could already feel themselves getting stronger, even if they didn't fully understand why each exercise mattered. After the rain cleared, I lay on a reclining chair in the yard, soaking up the sun. Sure rubbed my shoulders from behind, while Cece fed me fruit and water. I gazed up at the freshly washed blue sky and thought about how different this was from my old life. Years of studying, then the endless grind of 9 to 6, overtime every night, chasing dreams that turned out to be empty. Now I had 5 beautiful wives, a growing business, and moments like this. If I could freeze time right here, I would. Xiaofan, Xiaofan, great news. My peaceful morning was broken by shouting. Uncle Li San came running over, 2 dark circles under his eyes, carrying a cloth bundle on his back. Xiaofan, I finished it. Uncle San, what happened to your eyes? I teased. He clearly hadn't slept. He didn't care. He pulled a crossbow out of his bag and shoved it into my hands. I looked it over carefully. It matched what I remembered from the videos in my previous life. Let's see how it shoots. I aimed at a wooden post inside the yard and fired. The bolt sank in 1/3 of its length. If that had been a person, they'd be done. Sure and Cece both gasped. I'd never trained with a bow in my life, but my aim was dead on. Li San was practically vibrating with excitement. It's accurate within 20 zhang and powerful. Maximum range is 40 zhang, and it can fire rapidly, 3 or 4 shots in 10 seconds if you're strong enough. Xiaofan, how did you come up with this? I've never seen anyone more talented. He explained that military archers could only reach about 40 zhang after a full year of training, and even then, hitting anything was mostly luck. This crossbow matched that range, but only needed 2 or 3 days of practice. Armed with these, even 10 men could wipe out the entire bandit group. With this, the bandits are nothing to worry about, I said. If we could mass-produce them, Li San cut me off immediately. Xiaofan, no? You must never let the design leak out. A weapon this powerful could change the outcome of wars. If you sell it, the money would be unimaginable. But if someone steals the plans, I smiled. Relax. I'll hire some craftsmen and slaves, and teach each one how to make just 1 or 2 parts. Then you assemble the finished product. Nobody sees the full picture. He thought it over and nodded. Assembly alone would only take him an hour or 2 per crossbow, much faster than building from scratch. Cece, go get Yin Yan. This first crossbow is for her. Cece ran off to the hills. Meanwhile, Sure was already doing math. The magistrate's office had put bounties on the bandits. 1 tael for information, 3 taels per bandit killed. 30 or 40 bandits meant over 100 taels. Yin Yan came sprinting back, out of breath. I heard you made me something amazing. Let me see. I picked up the crossbow, aimed at the same post, and put a second bolt right above the first one. Yin Yan's jaw dropped. No bowstring to pull back manually each time. She grabbed the weapon and fired 5 shots at the post. Her first 2 hit the edges. She'd never used anything like this before. But the last 3 were incredible. 2 bolts landed directly on top of mine, and the third went right between them. Li San's eyes went wide. Amazing. For a first-timer, this was extraordinary. With practice, she'd be a sharpshooter. Cece was stunned too. Yin Yan, that's unbelievable. Even experienced archers couldn't do that. Yin Yan scratched her head, blushing. Just luck. Then she glanced at me shyly. Husband is more impressive though. I couldn't help myself. I stepped behind her, wrapped my arms around her, rested my chin on her shoulder, put my hands over hers on the crossbow, and whispered in her ear, Wife, what exactly am I impressive at? My lips brushed her ear. Her face turned bright red. She stammered, eyes darting around, and caught everyone staring at us with teasing grins. Husband, we were talking about archery. What are you even thinking about? Cece stood off to the side watching me hold Yin Yan, looking a little sad. She'd been with me for a while now, but we still hadn't been together. Both her sisters had already shared my bed. She had her birth quota to worry about too. Li San cleared his throat awkwardly and steered things back to business. Xiaofan, this crossbow design is brilliant. Your guard members already have some training, and with a few more days of practice, they'll master it. We'll have nothing to fear. I nodded. These are dangerous times. We need to be able to protect ourselves. Li San agreed, though I could see something deeper in his eyes. He was probably thinking about how many of his comrades would still be alive if the army had weapons like this. I could tell he wanted to suggest giving the design to the government, but he looked at my young face and swallowed the words. He knew it wasn't the right time. Song Shang had followed the commotion inside and saw the crossbow demonstration. His jaw dropped. Brother Lin, this weapon is incredible. It's better than anything we have at the magistrate's office. Li San tensed up. We'd just been talking about keeping it secret. But I waved it off. Song Shang is one of us. He'd find out sooner or later. Song Shang's eyes burned with hatred when he talked about the bandits. He'd almost died fighting them. If our guard could wipe them out, it would avenge his fallen brothers. The problem was production speed. Li San could only build one crossbow per day, even working through the night. That was way too slow. What if we split the work? I suggested. Give the simple parts to other people. Set up more forges. You handle only the critical pieces and do the final assembly. His eyes lit up. If we bring your whole guard to help and set up multiple forges, we could finish everything in 2 or 3 days. That was the answer. Division of labor, the oldest trick in manufacturing. Each person specializes in one part and gets fast at it. Li San ran home to prepare. Yin Yin volunteered to round up the guard and bring them to his workshop. Song Shang pulled me aside. Brother Lin, can I tell Constable Bao about the crossbow? I thought about it. Explaining over a message would be hard. Just bring him here to see it himself. Song Shang took off for town, thrilled. The round trip would take a while. He probably wouldn't be back until tomorrow. Suddenly the yard was empty. Just me and Cece. She was standing there with her head down, drawing circles on the ground with her toe. She looked miserable. I walked up behind her and wrapped my arms around her. What's wrong? She looked up at me, eyes red and watery, on the edge of tears. Husband, do you not like me? My heart ached. I had no idea what brought this on. But seeing her looking so pitiful, I leaned down and kissed her right on the lips. What are you talking about? You're adorable. I like you the most. We kissed for a long time. When we finally pulled apart, both gasping, her face was bright red. Then in a tiny voice she asked, then, why haven't you been with me yet? Something stirred in me. This little girl was being so forward. How could I hold back? I scooped her up in my arms, carrying her like a princess. How about right now? I pushed open the bedroom door as the sun was setting. The golden light felt warm on my face. Outside, the first kiln was nearly finished. The workers were putting in extra effort since the day was almost over. Cece came to the door behind me, her cheeks still flushed. I pulled her close and kissed her face. She blushed but didn't pull away this time, just smiled shyly. Sure and Yin Yin walked into the yard with mischievous grins. So, Cece, how was it? Sure teased. Cece buried her face in my chest, and the other two burst out laughing. I held her tighter and changed the subject. Sure, wrap things up for today and bring everyone to the backyard. I'd bought 6 sure of grain a while back, planning to give each worker 10 jean as a bonus. I'd just been too busy to hand it out. Everyone gathered, sweaty and tired from a full day's work, but smiling. Not a single complaint. They knew this job meant they wouldn't go hungry, not even in a famine year, as long as I kept them on. You've all been working hard, I said. I didn't call you here for more work. I'm giving each of you 10 jean of grain. It's not much, but it's my way of saying thank you. Their faces lit up. 10 jean was worth about 40 coins, nearly 3 days' wages on top of their regular pay. In town, bosses would cheat you out of wages, not hand out bonuses. Big Sisterly thumped her chest. Xiao Fan, from now on, you say jump and I'll ask how high. Everyone laughed, but I could feel the sincerity behind it. Yin Yin portioned out the grain, rounding up since we didn't have a scale. The workers headed home carrying their sacks, humming songs, bragging to every neighbor they passed about how good their boss was. Half the village was turning green with envy. The next morning, I was woken up by chatter outside before dawn. Sure came in to help me wash up. They all showed up half an hour early today, she said with a smile. I was surprised. They already worked 6 hours a day and had to be exhausted. Yet here they were, arriving early on their own. It made me feel a little guilty as their boss. I'd just have to keep the bonuses coming. We sat down for breakfast, stewed meat and fine grain again. I never got tired of it. Just as we picked up our chopsticks, a booming voice came from outside. Brother Lin, I'm here, Bao Tianqing and Song Shang. The sun had barely risen, meaning they'd left town at the crack of dawn to get here this fast. Constable Bao, perfect timing, I said, impressed by their speed. He was slightly out of breath, grinning his big, goofy grin. After Song Shang told me about your weapon, I couldn't sleep all night. As soon as the sky got light, I ran over. Then he sniffed the air, caught the smell of meat, and visibly relaxed. He'd made it in time for breakfast. I had a sneaking suspicion the weapon wasn't the only reason he'd rushed over. You haven't eaten yet, have you? Come join us. He scratched his head with a sheepish laugh. Well, since you mention it, after he'd eaten his fill, we headed to the yard. Brother Lin, Song Shang tells me you've invented a weapon that can deal with the bandits. Can I see it? Bao Tianqing was practically bouncing with excitement. I told Yin Yin to demonstrate. She stepped out with the crossbow, aimed at a wooden post 15 zhang away, and fired 3 shots in rapid succession. All 3 bolts slammed into the center, clustered so tightly together they were almost touching. Each one buried a third of its length into the wood. Bao Tianqing walked up to the post and yanked one out with effort, leaving a dark hole behind. His eyes were blazing. 6 years on the battlefield. He knew instantly how special this weapon was. Normal bows depended entirely on the strength of the pull, but this crossbow delivered devastating power just from cocking the string. And Yin Yin had fired 3 shots in seconds. Can I take a closer look? He asked. I handed it over. He turned it in his hands, muttering to himself, incredible design here. I never would have thought of that. He fired a shot at the post. Dead center. Then at a farther target. Center again. The accuracy is unbelievable, he said, staring at me with something close to worship. Then he asked the question I'd been expecting. How is it made? Song Shang nudged him with an elbow. Bao Tianqing caught himself immediately and bowed in apology. I'm sorry, Brother Lin. I got carried away. Of course I wouldn't ask you to reveal your design. He shifted to business. Could you sell some to the magistrate's office? 5 would be enough. Name your price. Absolutely. But this is the only one so far. It was just finished. Once we make more, I'll sell you some. He looked disappointed but understood. He was just too eager to destroy those bandits. They'd been humiliating his office and hurting his men. I told him I needed to go to town to buy an ox cart and a donkey cart for hauling stone. With bandits around, I hadn't dared make the trip alone. Going together would be safer. Since they'd come on horseback, I rode with Song Shang. Yin Yin wanted to come, but couldn't fit on a horse. She shoved the crossbow into my arms instead, insisting I take it for protection. Meanwhile, deep in the mountains at Wolfang Hill, the bandits were celebrating in a cave. Their leader, a scarred, bald man called Wolf Fong, was toasting his men. They'd just raided a village and stolen 120 shur of grain, enough to feed them for over 100 days. Beats farming, one of them laughed. Work sunrise to sunset all year and still go hungry. Out here, one raid every few days and we eat like kings. They were all in high spirits until the second-in-command raised a concern. Boss, 5 years ago a group like us got wiped out. The government sent archers to ambush them, killed every last one. I'm not afraid of those constables, but if archers show up, the cave went quiet. This was the fear none of them wanted to say out loud. Their business meant going out in the open eventually, and archers could pick them off before they even knew they were surrounded. They'd already had a few close calls with the magistrate's men. If they'd met the full force, things could have gone badly. While I was away, things were happening that I'd only learn about later. Deep in the mountains at Wolfang Hill, the bandit leader, a scarred, bald man they called Wolf Fong, was rallying his men. They'd just stolen 120 shur of grain from a village, enough to eat for over a year. His men were celebrating, drinking and laughing about how much better bandit life was than farming. The second-in-command raised the one fear they all shared. 5 years ago, a group just like them had been wiped out by government archers. What if it happened again? Wolf Fong waved it off with a confident smile. Even if archers came, it would take months to hunt us down. The government can't spare soldiers for that long with the war going on. That calmed everyone down, but Wolf Fong wasn't finished. He wanted to raid again, soon. We can't get lazy. The war won't last forever. Once the army is free, they'll come for us. We need to stockpile as much as we can now. When things get dangerous, we hide. With enough food stored up, we can wait it out, his men cheered. Then Wolf Fong named their next target, Lu Family Village. He'd go scout it himself. But he gave one order: keep the killing to a minimum. Dead villagers attracted too much attention from the military. Back at our village, Yin Yin was at Uncle Li San's workshop helping with the crossbow parts. One of the older village women noticed her moping and teased her. Missing your man already? Yin Yin blushed fiercely. I'm not missing him. I'm just worried. The woman laughed and started giving her advice. You young girls need to hurry up and have a son. In this world, a woman without a son has no security. She bragged about having her first boy within a year of marriage. That hit Yin hard. She and the other wives were all thin, and people around the village whispered that they weren't built for bearing children. She clenched her fists and silently made herself a promise. She'd give me a son, no matter what. But she couldn't shake the worry. I was out on the road with only Bao Tianqing and Song Shang. 3 men against 30 bandits, if they got unlucky. She went to find Li San. Uncle San, is another crossbow ready yet? I want to go meet my husband on the road. Li San shook his head. It's not that fast, girl. The parts are almost done, but assembly takes at least another hour. By then, Xiao Fan will practically be home. And he's got Song Shang with him. He'll be fine. Cici came over to comfort her too. Sister, don't worry. Husband will be okay. Yin sighed. After this, I'm never letting him go to town alone again. Cici giggled behind her hand. Yin really couldn't stand being apart from me, even for a few hours. Then Yin noticed Cici staring off into space, ears turning red. What are you thinking about? Cici jumped like she'd been caught stealing. Nothing. I'm going back to work. She bolted away before Yin could say another word. Yin laughed watching the little girl flee. Then she looked down and touched her flat stomach gently. She was going to give me a son. She was sure of it. The 2 horses galloped through the forest. I was riding behind Song Shang, arms wrapped tight around his waist, the crossbow strapped to my back. This was my first time on a horse, and it was nothing like I'd imagined. No stirrups, no feeling of freedom, just my insides bouncing around like they were trying to escape my body. How's it going back there, Brother Lin? Song Shang laughed, feeling me squeeze tighter. Can we go slower? I begged. By the time they eased up, I felt like my organs had rearranged themselves. I decided right then, I needed to learn to ride properly. In a world without cars, horses were the only fast option. But I also needed to get myself a proper carriage. Then both horses stopped suddenly. I nearly flew off. Up ahead, more than a dozen men stood in the middle of the road, gathering in a group. Every one of them had a blade on his belt. Constable, those are the bandits, Song Shang said immediately. He recognized the bald leader from their last fight. My heart dropped. Just our luck. Go. Bao Tianqing turned his horse around without hesitation. Song Shang yanked the reins and slapped our horse into a sprint. We cleared out before they could surround us. We rode hard until they were far behind and out of sight. They must have realized they couldn't catch horses on foot and gave up the chase. Bao Tianqing cursed. Bad luck. Running into them on the one trip were short-handed. He said if he'd had a few more men, he would have fought. He could handle 7 or 8 bandits alone, but not a dozen. Song Shang was furious. They've raided 2 villages in 4 days and even hit the town once. They're walking around in broad daylight with weapons out. They don't fear us at all anymore. An idea hit me. We have the crossbow. Can you 2 do mounted archery? Their eyes lit up. Both had trained for it in the military. And these bandits only had swords. No bows, no shields, nothing to counter ranged attacks. On horseback with a crossbow, the bandits would be living targets. Brother Lin, may I borrow the crossbow? Bao Tianqing asked. I handed it over without hesitation. Running into these bandits today made one thing crystal clear. If I didn't deal with them, my business was dead. And at the rate they were raiding, they'd reach our village soon. Even giving them a scare today might buy us a couple of weeks. Wait, I said before they rode off. Song Shang goes with you. He rides, you shoot. 2-man team is better than one. Bao Tianqing looked at me with something like admiration. You think faster than I do, Brother Lin. Find a place to hide and don't come out. Relax. There are trees everywhere. They'll never find me. Just be careful. We don't have many bolts. Get in, do some damage, get out. He nodded and the 2 of them turned their horses around, riding back toward the bandits. I found out later what the bandits were doing. Wolf Fong had been planning to scout his next target. His second-in-command was still ranting about the 3 men on horseback who'd escaped, the first people to ever run from them successfully. He wanted to chase us down. Wolf Fong told him to calm down. They have 4 legs, we have 2. Forget them. We'll raid the village tonight. He scolded his men for walking around with weapons in the open. That's exactly why we'd recognized them and bolted. The second-in-command was still fuming. When we hit the village, I'm killing a few extra just to blow off steam. Wolf Fong didn't stop him this time. Then a lookout called out. Boss, Someone's riding toward us on a horse. Wolf Fong looked up. A huge man on horseback was approaching, and he was carrying something strange. Is that Constable Bao? What's he holding? I found out what happened from Bao Tianqing and Song Shang afterward. When they rode back toward the bandits, Wolf Fong recognized Bao Tianqing, but couldn't figure out what weapon he was holding. The second-in-command lost his temper immediately. That black-faced fool dares come back? I'll cut him down. He charged forward with his blade. Get back, Wolf Fong shouted, but too late. Bao Tianqing raised the crossbow and fired. The bolt punched clean through the second-in-command's arm. He'd actually been aiming for the heart, but at over 20 zhang the accuracy wasn't perfect. He didn't waste time being disappointed. Second shot, another bandit dropped dead, bolt through the chest. The bandits panicked and dove behind rocks, but the mountain road was mostly flat with barely any cover. In about 15 seconds, Bao Tianqing put 4 more bandits on the ground. Every single shot hit its mark. The bandits fell apart. These men were used to bullying unarmed villagers, not facing someone who could kill them from a distance. They argued behind their rocks. You go first. No, you go. While their wounded second-in-command clutched his bleeding arm, hands shaking for the first time in his life. Only Wolf Fong stayed calm. He saw Bao Tianqing circling around to their rear. If he got behind them, they were all dead. Wolf Fong ordered a 3-pronged charge to surround the horsemen. Nobody moved. Not a single one wanted to be the first to step out and die. So Wolf Fong raised the bounty. 15 taels for the first 3 men to charge. 30 taels for whoever killed Bao Tianqing. He knew the ones who charged would probably die and never collect, but the money finally broke through their fear. Several desperate men rushed out. Then Wolf Fong told the second-in-command to lead another group from the left flank while he'd supposedly attack from the right. The wounded second-in-command, burning for revenge, grabbed his blade and charged with a few men. The moment they were gone, Wolf Fong turned to his closest men and whispered one word: run. They bolted for their mountain hideout, leaving everyone else to die. Bao Tianqing stood his ground and fired bolt after bolt. The charging bandits couldn't get anywhere near him. The crossbow held 12 shots, and he used every one. Most of the attackers were dead before the last bolt left the weapon. The 3 or 4 survivors stared at him in terror. He'd fired 7 or 8 shots in seconds, every single one a kill. They couldn't even pull a bowstring that many times, let alone hit anything. They threw down their swords and ran. Bao Tianqing wasn't about to let them go. He drew his saber, spurred his horse forward, and rode them down one by one. When it was over, he took a deep breath. He hadn't killed this many men in one fight in a very long time. More than a dozen bodies lay scattered across the road. But Wolf Fong had escaped. After it was over, the 3 of us regrouped. Wolf Fong and a handful of his men had vanished into the mountains. If we'd had a second crossbow, Bao Tianqing and Song Shang could have flanked them and finished them all. But with just one weapon, that wasn't possible. Bao Tianqing returned the crossbow and bowed deeply. Brother Lin, without you and your invention, these bandits would have terrorized the region for years. I owe you thanks on behalf of my men and every citizen in town. I pulled him up. Don't be like that. Getting rid of bandits is everyone's responsibility. I just provided the weapon. You two did the killing. He looked at me like I was some kind of saint. In his eyes, I was a young doctor who'd invented a revolutionary weapon just to protect ordinary people out of pure duty. He didn't need to know that my main motivation was protecting my business. We killed 16 bandits today, he said. The bounty is 5 taels per head, 80 taels total. I'll get you the money when we reach town. 80 taels, just for lending out the crossbow for a few minutes. Since arriving in this world, I'd earned maybe 100-something taels total, and the house alone cost 40. This was the easiest money I'd ever made. On the ride back, I saw the road littered with bodies. The smell of blood hung in the air. Something twisted inside me. Fear, maybe. Or pity. I wasn't sure. Song Shang noticed and sped up the horse. These men killed innocent people. They deserved it. I nodded quietly. It wasn't easy, seeing death up close for the first time. In town, I collected my 80 taels and headed to the cattle market, while Bao Tianqing stayed at the office to handle paperwork. Song Shang stuck with me for protection. The market was busy. Winter had just started, and lots of farmers were selling livestock. Song Shang advised me to buy from inside the official market rather than from roadside sellers. The market charged a bit more, but offered a 30-day guarantee. If the animal got sick, you could bring it back. Smart system. We ran into the two officers from before, the short fat one and the tall thin one. Their real names were Zhang De and Zhang Air, but everyone called them Potato and Beanpole. They were on patrol duty at the market. They joked with Song Shang about how cushy his assignment was, living at my place with good food every day. Song Shang told them to get lost. No way he was giving up that post. Those two weren't great fighters, but they were sharp and sociable. I filed them away mentally as future recruits for my business operations. Then I felt a little guilty about constantly plotting to poach Bao Tianqing's people. A market worker noticed us chatting with the officers and hurried over, all smiles. He started showing me the cattle. Cheaper ones near the front, stronger and pricier ones further in. I was just getting into it when a voice cut through the noise. "Mom, that's Lu Shishir's husband, Lin Xiaofan." I looked up. It was Lu Ergu, the fool I'd let off easy last time. Standing next to him was a short, barrel-shaped woman in her 30s. His mother. She marched straight at me, hands on her wide hips. "So you're the man who married those 3 worthless girls?" My eyes narrowed. I'd shown her son mercy before, and this was how the family repaid me. Apparently the lesson hadn't stuck. Like mother, like son, the woman sneered, spit practically flying in my face. Anyone who'd marry those 3 worthless girls can't be worth much either. Her name was Lu Li, Erga's mother. She planted her hands on her barrel waist and let loose. Erga stood behind her, grinning. His mother was apparently the biggest loudmouth in Lu family village, undefeated in street arguments for 20 years. I stepped back to avoid her spit and the stench of her breath. I didn't say a word. I just watched her like she was a circus act. The town had rules against causing public disturbances. Normally the magistrate's office didn't bother with this kind of thing, but right now there was an actual officer standing next to me. I just needed her to dig herself in deeper. She took my silence for weakness and went harder. "Look at you in your new clothes. Bet you stole them. A broke wretch like you couldn't afford anything," Ergo piled on. "At the cattle market? You can't afford a cow. Probably here to steal one," his mother nodded. "Married to those 3 cursed girls. No way he has 10 tails. Someone call the authorities." A crowd gathered. Lu Li puffed up her chest, enjoying the audience. Song Shang couldn't take it anymore. "Watch your mouth, woman. You're causing a public disturbance." She whipped around on him without hesitation. "What are you, his guard dog? I bet you 2 are partners in crime. Look at them, everybody. These 2 are clearly up to no good together." Song Shang's hand went to his sword hilt. He was furious, but he was a fighter, not a talker. He had no idea how to win a shouting match with a woman like this. "Oh, look, he's going to hit me," Lu Li screeched, stepping closer. "Go ahead, hit me right in the face. That way the authorities can charge you properly." She knew nobody would actually kill her over some insults. Song Shang had heard enough. He pulled out his magistrate's badge and held it up. "I am the authorities. You 2 are under arrest for public provocation." The crowd gasped. Erga's face went white. He'd been inside the magistrate's office before and knew how ugly it got in there. "Mom, what do we do?" he whispered, terrified. Lu Li flinched for a second, then collected herself with a snort. "Don't worry, son. I'll get your revenge today." The crowd murmured. Did this woman have some connection they didn't know about? Then she showed her hand. "That badge is fake. I don't even need to look at it." Everyone started buzzing. She pressed on before Song Shang could react, slapped the badge out of his hand, stomped on it twice, and spat on it. "Every officer is on duty right now. Why would one be wandering around the cattle market and hanging around with this nobody? No real officer would do that. So your badge is obviously a forgery. Impersonating an official, that's a serious crime. You're finished." Song Shang stood there stunned. He'd never expected anyone to double down after seeing an official badge. He hadn't even guarded it because it was unthinkable. I spoke up calmly from the side. "You should really take a closer look at that badge." Lu Li burst out laughing. "Still keeping up the act? How funny." Then a loud voice cut through the crowd. "Move aside. What's going on here?" A cold voice cut through the crowd. Potato and Beanpole pushed their way in, dressed in full constable uniforms with swords at their belts, followed by several officers. They'd spotted the commotion during their patrol. "Officers, these 2 are impersonating officials. Lu Li immediately started wailing, squeezing out fake tears. They started trouble and pulled out a fake badge to threaten me. The evidence is right there on the ground, but the two constables walked right past her. Brother Lin. Song Shang. What happened here? Lu Li's face went blank. These real officers were greeting us like old friends? So the badge was real? She thought about everything she'd just done. The insults, slapping the badge to the ground, stomping on it, spitting on it. Cold sweat poured down her back. Ergu collapsed onto the ground, his legs gone to jelly, mumbling, "This can't be real. I must be dreaming." Song Shang explained everything, his voice ice cold. These two caused a public disturbance. After I showed my badge, this woman knocked it out of my hand, stepped on it, and spat on it. Lu Li instantly dropped to her knees and started banging her head on the ground. Song Shang pointed at me. "You should be begging him." She spun around and started kowtowing toward me. "Son-in-law, I didn't know. Please forgive me." I stepped aside. "Fine, I forgive you for what you said about me. But you insulted an officer and disgraced the magistrate's badge. That's not my problem to fix." Her face went white again. She looked at Song Shang, still stone-faced. "Take them to the magistrate's office," he ordered. Four officers grabbed the mother and son and dragged them away screaming. Nobody in the crowd felt sorry for them. With that settled, the market worker led us through the cattle pens. I passed on everything until we reached the very back, where four huge bulls caught my eye. Two males, two females, significantly bigger than anything else in the market. Each had a few scars but stood calm and quiet, flicking their tails, watching people walk by. I moved closer and studied them carefully. My heart started racing. If I wasn't mistaken, these were Tian Shan yellow cattle, the finest breed from my previous world. Bigger, stronger, more disease-resistant, more adaptable than regular cattle. I'd gone to university in Tianshan City and seen them all the time. The market owner clearly didn't know what he had. He was treating them as just well-fed, ordinary cows. I kept my face neutral. Couldn't let anyone see how excited I was. "How much?" The worker hesitated. 25 taels each. Silence. That was 3 times the price of a regular cow. He'd clearly watched plenty of customers walk away at that number. I paused for a long moment, letting some fake disappointment show in my eyes. The worker tried to save the sale, talking about how impressive these bulls would look pulling a cart. I pretended to think hard, then asked for a discount. He said he couldn't decide. The price was set by management. Song Shang pulled me aside and tried to talk me out of it. 90 taels could buy 10 regular cows. Why spend that on 4? I shook my head. He didn't know what I knew. These weren't just big cows. They were Tianshan yellow cattle, the best breed from my old world. They barely needed good feed to stay this size, and they were incredibly strong and resistant to disease. The market didn't realize what they had. "I have my reasons," I told Song Shang. He gave up trying to convince me. The worker ran off to ask his manager and came back grinning. 90 taels approved. He was thrilled. The bulls had been sitting unsold for 2 months, eating expensive feed. The manager was probably happy to get rid of them. I also bought a cargo cart for 5 taels. While they prepared everything, Song Shang and I stopped by the magistrate's office. Before we even walked in, I heard Lu Li's voice. "Constable Qian, we're relatives. You have to help me." She was working on a constable named Qian, a smooth-talking type who got along with everyone. "What happened?" he asked. "I accidentally offended one of your officers this morning. Someone named Song. That's tricky. Whatever it costs, I'll pay. Just make this go away." "I never take money from citizens," Qian said with a practiced smile. "Don't worry, I'll handle it." Song Shang and I walked up to them. Qian spotted Song Shang and instantly switched to his friendly face. "Song, how's the arm healing?" Song Shang flexed it. "Fine. Almost back to normal." Then he turned to the officers holding Lu Li and Ergu. "Why haven't these two been taken to the courthouse for sentencing?" Public provocation was 10 lashes. Provoking an officer, 20. Slapping an official badge to the ground. That counted as serious obstruction of duty. 40 lashes. A strong person might survive, but would be bedridden for months. Someone weaker might not make it through winter. Constable Qian stepped in with a smooth grin. "Hold on, Song. These two are distant relatives of mine. Can't we work something out? Maybe some compensation?" Lu Li and Erga's faces lit up with smug satisfaction. They figured this Qian fellow would save them. What was I to them? A nobody who married rejects. Song Shang wouldn't risk offending a colleague over someone like me. They'd walk free, and then they'd come after me again. But Song Shang shut it down cold. No, they provoke me in public. I can't let it slide. Qian's smile flickered but held. Come on, they'll pay you back. Everyone wins. You're missing something, Constable Qian. They didn't just insult me. Song Shang pointed at me. They also went after my friend here. Constable Qian looked me over, trying to place my face. Erga helped him out. That's Lin Xiaofan, the one who got me thrown in here last time. Qian's eyes lit up with recognition. He grabbed my hand with a big smile. Brother Lin, you've changed so much I barely recognized you. Then he smoothly tried to shut things down. You're all family, right? Why bring family matters to the courthouse? Just work it out privately. Ergu and Luli jumped right on it, acting like this was all settled. Yeah, stop wasting the officers' time. They're busy catching bandits. You should be ashamed of yourself, dragging them into petty family drama. They thought they had me cornered. Qian was silver-tongued. Song Shang wasn't much of a talker, and without Song Shang backing me, I was nothing, or so they figured. I pulled my hand away from Qian and let out a cold laugh. Moral blackmail? In the 21st century, I dealt with this nonsense daily. 10 Constable Qians couldn't outplay me at this game. I put on my best look of righteous fury. She's my mother-in-law, sure. I can take some insults. But today she didn't just attack me. She attacked the entire magistrate's office. She ground their badge into the dirt. I pointed at Song Shang and raised my voice so everyone could hear. Do you know what this man did for us? He fought bandits and nearly died. I grabbed Song Shang's sleeve and pulled it up, revealing the ugly scar on his arm. The crowd gasped and stepped back. Officers like him risk their lives every day to keep us safe. And these two? They slapped his badge to the ground, stomped on it, and spat on it. That's spitting in the face of every officer who bleeds for this town. Tell me, do they deserve punishment or not? The crowd erupted. Yes, beat them. People like that deserve worse. Stones and whatever people had in their hands started flying at Lu Li and Ergu. Qian stood there completely stunned. My speech was so good that for a moment, even he wanted to throw the book at them. Then he caught himself. Wait, he was supposed to be helping them. Before he could recover, a familiar booming voice rang out. Brilliant. Brother Lin, I've never admired anyone in my life. Except you. Bao Tianqing stepped out of the crowd and clapped me on the shoulder. The people went wild at the sight of their head constable. We handle things by the law here, Bao Tianqing told the crowd. Whatever crime they committed, that's the punishment they'll get. Then he turned to face everyone. And let me introduce this man. Yesterday, he helped kill 16 bandits. I froze. All I'd done was lend them the crossbow. But Bao Tianqing had just credited me with the kills. Nobody questioned it. If the head constable said it, it was true. A true hero. Amazing. Sir, I have a 14-year-old daughter. Interested? I couldn't exactly correct the record now, so I just smiled awkwardly and accepted it. Constable Qian spun on a dime. He bowed to me with a face full of fake admiration. Brother Lin, the hero who killed 16 bandits. Forgive me. If I'd known who you were, I never would have gotten involved. Please accept my deepest apologies. Everyone who knew him understood exactly what he was doing. Abandoning ship while it sank. Lu Li's face twisted in panic. Constable Qian, you promised to help us. Constable Qian shoved Lu Li away like she was contagious. Get away from me. Who promised you anything? You attacked our office's dignity and our hero, Brother Lin. Unforgivable. Bao Tianqing clapped my shoulder. Brother Lin, that speech was incredible. From now on, anything you need, just ask. He was genuinely moved. People always accused him of being no different from corrupt officials, and my words had hit exactly where it mattered. I scratched my head awkwardly. The truth was, everything I'd said was calculated. The emotions, the outrage, all performed to perfection. I just wanted to outplay Qian's moral blackmail and teach Ergu and his mother a lesson. But the mood was set, so I just smiled shyly. I got carried away. Don't laugh at me. Bao Tianqing headed off to handle the sentencing. Song Shang and I climbed onto my new bull cart and started home. Neither of us knew how to drive it, so we hired a driver. The road was peaceful. After losing 16 men this morning, the bandits were probably hiding in their cave. The cart was fast. We made it home in no time. The first kiln was finished, and workers were already building the second. Shaoran ran over to greet me. Husband, the kiln's ready to fire whenever you say. I pulled her into my arms and kissed her before she could react. Her face turned pink all the way to her ears. She checked nervously to make sure nobody saw. I let her go. There was always tonight. I told her the bull cart was ready and we'd start hauling stone tomorrow. She looked excited but nervous about running the bigger kiln. I patted her shoulder. You're the most talented person I've ever met at this. Those experienced craftsmen in town get 2 gene of lime from 10 gene of stone. You get 3 or 4. You're far better than any of them. Her worry melted into confidence. I'll do great, husband. I kissed her one more time and headed to Uncle Li San's place with Song Shang to check on the crossbow production. The door was locked. Not taking orders today, Li San shouted from inside. Uncle San, it's me. Yin Yin popped her head out, beaming. Husband, what are you doing here? If Song Shang hadn't been standing right there, she probably would have jumped into my arms. Inside, the guard members were hammering away at crossbow parts, but they had no smithing experience. Things kept getting ruined. Li San was running between stations, trying to teach everyone at once, sweating and overwhelmed. Xiaofan, thank goodness you're here. Help me. I thought about it and proposed a better system. Pick 5 people with the most talent. Teach each one to make just one specific part. Send the rest back to training. Once those 5 get good, they can teach others. Li San's face lit up. That was so much more manageable. He picked 5 people, some naturally skilled, some with a little blacksmithing background. The rest looked visibly relieved. Farming, hauling, training, no problem. But hammering metal? That was torture. I told Yin Yin to stay and help with the forging, and sent Li Hu and Tian Yu to lead the rest in training at the back hills. I stayed behind to help Li San guide the smithing team. I couldn't swing a hammer myself, but as an engineering student in my past life, I knew what the parts should look like and how to make the workflow more efficient. The afternoon flew by at Uncle Li San's workshop. Every time I shared an idea, his eyes would light up like something had clicked. The 5 smiths we'd picked were genuinely interested in the work, so they gave it everything they had. By the time the sun started going down, they'd already finished 1 complete crossbow, and that was while still learning. Once they got the hang of it, we'd be producing several a day. One by one, the men said good night and headed home to their families. One of them laughed as he left. A simple farmer who'd just built a weapon more precise than anything a master craftsman had ever made. He couldn't believe it himself. Uncle San, I should go too. My wives are waiting. Li San reminded me to be careful on the road, then tried once more to recruit me. Xiaofan, you're the most gifted craftsman I've ever met. Problems that generations of smiths couldn't solve, you crack them like it's nothing. If you dedicated yourself to this, your name would live forever. I laughed and turned him down again. I'm too lazy for that life, Uncle San. The truth was, everything in my head came from centuries of accumulated knowledge from my old world. I wasn't a genius. I was just borrowing from people far smarter than me. And eventually, I'd run out of things to borrow. He shook his head, disappointed but not surprised. He was already planning how to lure me into blacksmithing later. I walked home humming a little tune. The bandit problem was almost solved, the limestone business was on track, and at 16 years old, well, technically my soul was in its 30s. I had a thriving career and a full household. The only thing missing was children. Time to put in some overtime on that front. The moment I walked through the door, all my wives surrounded me. You're home. Are you tired? Let me get you water for your feet. They worried I was pushing myself too hard. Looking at their caring faces, I felt all the exhaustion melt away. This made everything worth it. Cece had dinner ready and waiting. We sat down together for a warm meal. What I didn't know was that across the village, 4 men were huddled together in Li Daniu's house, seething with rage. Lin Xiaofan has the head constable as a friend now, and 2 officers as bodyguards. Li Daniu kicked over his table. Li Zhenghua had been spying on my property. He's built a huge kiln. 1 batch could produce 50 gene of limestone. That's 20 or 30 taels of silver. Li Zhengkai was fuming too. The 3 brothers had gone to my house that morning trying to get 6 work positions, 2 per family. Sure had turned them away, and when they tried to argue, the other villagers chased them out. In their minds, everyone was selfish and ungrateful. Nobody cared about them, the poorest families in the village. The whole place deserved to burn. Li Daniu was spiraling. I'd taken all his money, and the 2-tael gambling debt was coming due soon. If he couldn't pay, it was either forced labor for the government or cannon fodder on the front lines. He'd have to sell his house. But then where would he live in winter? Then Li Zhengcai's eyes gleamed with something dark. He'd been thinking, if something happened to all of them, he could slip into my house during the chaos and steal enough to set himself up for life. He straightened up and addressed the other three. Brothers, I have a plan. We can live like kings and get rid of Lin Xiaofan at the same time. The other three stared at him, skeptical but curious. What plan? I didn't know it at the time, but while I was happily working on crossbows and planning my future, for men in the village were plotting to destroy me. Li Daniyu, Li Zhengcai, Li Zhenghua, and Li Zhengying had gathered in Daniyu's house that night, boiling with jealousy and rage. Daniyu was furious about the money I'd taken from him and the gambling debt coming due. The three brothers were bitter about being refused work positions. Shir had turned them away that morning, and the other villagers had chased them out. Zhengcai fancied himself the smart one. He stroked his chin, closed his eyes dramatically, and announced his master plan. Kill with a borrowed knife. The other three stared at him blankly. Borrowed knife? I have a knife at home. But murder is a death sentence. Zhengcai nearly exploded. These idiots didn't even understand the expression. He took a deep breath and explained slowly. He had a relative, a young man whose uncle happened to be Wolf Fong, the bandit leader. The relative had been wanting to join the bandits for a while. Zhengcai's plan was simple. Send a letter through this relative, telling the bandits that I had hundreds of taels of silver at my home. The bandits would raid the village, kill me, and in the chaos, the four of them would steal my money. Daniyu worried about the village guard. Zhengcai laughed it off. Half of them are women. They've trained for a few days. They barely have weapons. The bandits are killers with real blades. Your precious guard will freeze the moment they see them. That same night, under a full moon, the four of them slipped out to deliver their message. The next day at Wolfang Hill, the mood was grim. 16 empty seats in the cave. Even the second-in-command spot was vacant. He'd bled out from the arrow wound. The surviving bandits were scared and wanted to hide for a while. Wolf Fong smashed his wine bowl on the ground. One small setback and you all fall apart. He explained that the only reason they'd lost was because Bao Tianqing had a horse and a ranged weapon. The solution was simple: make their own bows and arrows. Once armed with ranged weapons, no constable could touch them again. The bandits' spirits lifted. They started chanting about killing every officer in town. Then a lookout dragged in a young man, tied up. Wolf Fong recognized him, Zhang Jun, his nephew, who'd been wanting to join for months. After untying him and introducing him to the group, Wolf Fong asked what brought him. Zhang Jun grinned. Uncle, I brought you a gift. There's a man in Li family village who struck a limestone mine. He's making a fortune, probably sitting on hundreds of taels of silver right now. If you raid his place, you'd have enough to eat for a year. His eyes gleamed with excitement. He'd never robbed anyone before, but just thinking about it thrilled him. The information about me had reached the bandits, and I had no idea it was coming. I didn't know it, but up on Wolfang Hill, Zhang Jun, the nephew they'd sent, was pitching my village to the bandits. There's a guy in Li family village who hit a limestone mine. He's probably sitting on hundreds of taels. One raid and you eat for a year. The bandits hesitated. After losing 16 men yesterday, nobody was eager to go out again. Some thought it might be a trap set by Constable Bao. Zhang Jun got angry, thinking they didn't believe him. But Wolf Fong calmed everyone down and explained what had happened. The massacre on the road, the mysterious weapon, the horse. Wolf Fong laid it out logically. Even after they built their own bows, they still couldn't match Bao Tianqing's strength and accuracy. They could only make him cautious, not defeat him. What they needed was money to buy time, months of supplies so they could hide and plan. One rich target is safer than raiding 5 poor villages, he said. And right after losing so many men, Bao Tianqing thinks we're hiding. His guard is down. This is the perfect moment. One by one, the bandits agreed. Tomorrow they'd go all in. Everything riding on one raid. Meanwhile, I sneezed. Someone must be thinking about me, I muttered. Shir buttoned up my coat and fussed over me keeping warm. I'd been lounging in my recliner all day, enjoying the view. The crossbow production was in Li San's hands now. Limestone was Sharon's department, and I was planning to find a long-term sales partner at Zhao Shan's upcoming trade fair. Until then, I could finally relax. Then Yin burst through the door with 3 retired soldiers from the guard. Each of them was holding a brand new crossbow. Lisan's team had finished 2 more that day, for total, now counting the original. New toys, I grinned. The training ground isn't ready yet, so we came here to practice, Yin said, eyes sparkling. The 3 veterans were thrilled. They'd heard about the crossbow, but this was their first time holding one. The controls were simple enough, and with their archery background, they picked it up fast. After 2 hours, they could fire 2 shots in 10 seconds and hit a target at 20 zhong about 5 or 6 times out of 10. They weren't natural talents like Yin or Bao Tianqing, but that was fine. With enough repetition, muscle memory would take over. Fire 1 ranging shot, then the rest would follow. They practiced until dark, only stopping because the overcast sky made it impossible to see. They were already planning to show off to Li Hu tomorrow. He'd been stuck running guard drills and missed out. Practice well, I told Yin with a smile, and your husband will have a reward for you tonight. Her face went crimson instantly. The 3 soldiers were polite enough not to tease her, but she looked ready to crawl underground anyway. At dawn, the bandits sharpened their blades and marched out of their cave. Every last one of them. Wolf Fong swung his knife and roared, "Take Li family village." I'd woken up early that morning, still exhausted from last night with Yin. That girl had endless energy. If Shir hadn't dragged me out of bed for breakfast, I'd have slept until noon. Li Hu showed up with 2 veterans, eager to try the crossbow. His strength was ridiculous. He could cock the bowstring with 1 hand. Within half an hour, he was firing 4 shots in 10 seconds, faster than the veterans. His aim wasn't great beyond 20 zhong, but his speed was impressive. I tried the crossbow myself. It took me 4 seconds just to pull the string back once. I gave up. Then came the pounding on the door and the chief's desperate voice. "Xiaofan, bandits. The bandits are here." My blood went cold. I looked outside. A crowd of armed men was heading straight for my house, already just 100 meters away. The guard was training on the back hill. No time to fetch them. If the bandits reached us first, they'd lock everyone down and we'd have no chance to fight. I took a deep breath and forced myself to think. Song Shang, how many are there? Started with over 40. 16 died 2 days ago. Around 30 left. We had 4 crossbows and several good fighters. We could hold them off, but not wipe them out. And if survivors escaped, they'd come back for revenge. Best strategy, scare them into retreating, then kill them all if it came to a fight. Li Hu, give me your crossbow and run, get the guard here. Now, he took off. The back hill was close, 7 or 8 minutes round trip. Everyone else, load and get ready. When the bandits were 10 paces away, I signaled Yin. She fired 1 bolt that buried itself in the ground right at Wolf Fong's feet. The front row flinched and stepped back. Wolf Fong's eyes darted across us. He recognized the crossbows, the same weapon Bao Tianqing had used to slaughter his men. That shook him. But he had 30 men, and we had 4 bows. "Boss, they have bows. Should we retreat?" "Retreat? There's only a handful of them." Wolf Fong stayed cold. He knew if he charged, he'd probably win, but he'd be the first one shot. At 10 paces, there was no way to dodge. "If you're here for money, turn around," I said, aiming straight at his head. Li family village isn't an easy target. He swallowed hard. A crossbow pointed at your skull from 10 paces. That gets anyone's attention. 10 paces, he sneered, trying to sound confident. 1 charge, and we're on top of you. You'd only get 1 volley off. We just want money. Hand it over. Nobody dies. 1 volley is enough to kill you, I said, keeping my aim steady, my face showing nothing but cold willingness to die fighting. He was bluffing. I could see it. If I surrendered, he'd kill me anyway. I was connected to Bao Tianqing, and killing me would send a message. We stared each other down. Neither side blinked. Finally, Wolf Fong spoke again. "I know you've made a fortune. 1,000 taels at least. I'm being reasonable. 500 taels, and we leave. Otherwise, we all die here together." I let my face waver, showing just enough hesitation to make Wolf Fong think his threats were working. "Just 500 taels, and you'll leave us alone?" I asked, my voice deliberately uncertain. He grinned like a predator smelling blood. "Absolutely. 500 taels, and we're gone forever." He was lying. I could see it in his eyes. He planned to take the money now and come back tonight to kill us all and take the rest. I turned to Shir. "Go inside and get 500 taels." She looked at me, understood my real meaning, and went inside. But what she was actually doing was getting the guard ready. Liu had already run to the back hill to bring the rest of the guard, and by now they should be in position, hiding throughout the courtyard. Shir came back empty-handed and whispered in my ear, "Everything's ready. Where's the money?" "You think I'm stupid?" Wolf Fong snarled. I let a cold smile spread across my face. "Yes, that's exactly what I think." I pulled the trigger. The bolt flew straight at Wolf Fong's face. He dove behind another bandit just in time. The bolt grazed his ear and killed the man behind him. The other 3 crossbows fired simultaneously. 3 more bandits dropped. Wolf Fong touched his bleeding ear and exploded with rage. "Kill them all." 30 bandits charged. They figured we'd only get 1 shot each. 10 seconds to close the distance, and we'd be helpless. They figured wrong. 3 seconds later, Yin Yan's second bolt took down the lead runner. Before anyone could process how she'd reloaded so fast, 3 more bolts flew out. 3 more bodies hit the ground. "Fall back into the yard," I ordered calmly. As the bandits poured through the gate, 4 more bolts met them. 4 more screams. In seconds, they'd lost nearly half their men. Then the trap sprung. From behind every tree stump, water barrel, and doorway, my guard erupted. Over 40 armed fighters, outnumbering the bandits 2 to 1. The front line wore makeshift armor. Wolf Fong knew instantly he'd been played, but he was already at the back of his group. Without a word to his men, he slipped out of the yard and ran. 2 quick-thinking bandits followed him. The rest stood frozen, leaderless, their courage gone. The guard closed in. These bandits had no fight left. If surrender weren't a death sentence, they'd have dropped their weapons on the spot. Song Shang spotted Wolf Fong escaping. "Brother Lin, the leader's running. Let me go after him." He had a personal score to settle. Wolf Fong was the one who'd slashed his arm. "Take 2 squad leaders and go," I said. We had overwhelming numbers here. The battle was already won. This was also a chance to let the guard get their first real combat experience. People who'd never seen blood needed this. "Yin Yan, hold your fire unless someone's in danger." The 3 fleeing bandits had thrown away their weapons and were sprinting for the tree line a few hundred meters ahead. If they reached it, the crossbows would be useless in the thick cover. "They're coming," one of the bandits gasped, looking back. Song Shang was charging after them, sword drawn, roaring at the top of his lungs. "Stop running, cowards. Stand and fight." The sheer fury in his voice made all 3 bandits flinch. Wolf Fong gritted his teeth. He'd fought Song Shang before and knew the man was dangerous. He'd held off 4 or 5 bandits at once. The only reason Wolf Fong had wounded him last time was a cheap shot. "Run," Wolf Fong ordered. Fighting meant death. They were almost at the trees. Song Shang and the 2 squad leaders were keeping pace, but couldn't close the gap. Then Song Shang grabbed a crossbow from one of his men, raised it while running, and took aim at Wolf Fong's back. Song Shang had only practiced with the crossbow twice. His injured arm made cocking it difficult. But there was no choice. He had to take the shot. He bit his tongue to sharpen his focus and aimed at Wolf Fong. But Wolf Fong saw it coming and ducked behind his 2 men, using them as shields. At 20 paces, Song Shang fired and dropped 1 bandit. He grabbed the second crossbow. Wolf Fong was already 30 paces out. Song Shang fired again. The bolt punched through the second bandit's body. Now Wolf Fong had no cover. But the tree line was only a few steps away. At nearly 40 paces, even Bao Tianqing would have trouble hitting that shot. 5 steps. 4. 3. Wolf Fong leaped toward the trees. Just as he disappeared into the forest, the bolt caught him in the left shoulder, punching clean through. "He's hit." "Keep going," Song Shang shouted, and the 3 of them plunged into the trees, following the blood trail. Back at my house, the fight was already over. Most of the bandits lay dead. We'd captured 2 alive. I stood there looking at the bodies, my face pale. Shir was gripping my arm, trembling. Yin Yan had killed 4 bandits herself. She'd been shaking with excitement during the fight, but now the fear was catching up. Liu reported in, blood on his clothes, a knife wound on his arm from being too tense in his first real fight. 6 of our guards got hurt. 6 others froze and didn't come out to fight. That's my fault. I shook my head. It's not your fault. Some people freeze when they see blood. It's normal. I told Shir to pay those 6 their wages. They were done. They begged for another chance, but I held firm. Rules are rules. But if other jobs come up, you can try for those. They left with their heads down. I turned to the 2 prisoners. One started rambling about his elderly mother and young children. Song Shang cut his head off mid-sentence. You're a bandit. Don't lie to me. The last prisoner was Zhang Jun, Wolf Fang's nephew, the one who delivered the tip about me. He collapsed, wet himself, and started talking fast. Don't kill me. I'll show you their hideout. There's grain and money up there, and I can tell you why they came straight for you. That got my attention. The bandits had just lost 16 men 2 days ago. Coming here so quickly wasn't normal. Something had tipped them off. Talk, I said. A man in your village, Li Zhengkai. He's my distant relative. He wrote me a letter saying you make dozens of tails every day. I brought the information to Wolf Fang, and we decided to rob you. My blood went cold. If the crossbow production had been 2 or 3 days slower, I'd be dead right now. Li Zhengkai and his brothers were certainly involved. I still have his letter on me, Zhang Jun added desperately. The village chief was shaking with fury. That animal. I'll have him beaten to death right now. The villagers erupted. Everyone understood. I was the reason the village was getting better. If the bandits had succeeded, everything would have gone back to the way it was. They wanted blood. I looked at Tianyu, the officer. Killing someone in front of a government man could be a problem. Conspiring with bandits is a capital crime under national law, Tianyu said flatly. Whatever you do, I won't interfere. I sent Li Hu to arrest the 3 brothers. Soon after, Song Shang returned carrying 2 severed heads, the bandits who'd fled with Wolf Fang. We chased Wolf Fang to the Tianzi River. I put a bolt through his left shoulder before he jumped off the cliff into the rapids. 10-meter drop, fast current, wounded arm. His chances aren't good. I nodded. If Wolf Fang survived that, he was superhuman. The bandit crisis was essentially over, though the world was still dangerous, so the guard would keep training. Good work, Song Shang. With your injuries, you did more than anyone could ask. I paused. Now that the bandits are dealt with, what are you and Tianyu planning to do next? Song Shang thought it over. With the bandits gone, Constable Bao will probably call us back. There's still work at the office. He and Tianyu both looked a little sad saying it. They'd enjoyed their time here. Good food, easy work, and they genuinely liked me. But duty was duty. How much does the office pay you? I asked. 15 coins a day. I was stunned. 15 coins? A person needed 12 just to eat. No wonder officers took bribes on the side. How would you feel about staying here? I'll pay you 20 a day, Song Shang blinked. It took him a second to realize I was trying to poach him. 20 coins plus free meals with meat every day. That was nearly 40 coins worth. But after thinking about it, he shook his head. It's tempting, but Constable Bao needs me. I'm one of his best men. Walking away wouldn't be right. Loyalty? That just meant the price wasn't high enough. 25. His expression wavered. Almost double his current pay. But he shook his head again and opened his mouth to refuse. I held up 3 fingers. 30. And when my business grows, your pay grows too. Song Shang and Tianyu looked at each other. Then both dropped to one knee. Brother Lin, from today on, we follow you. You say east, we go east. No questions. They were honest men who'd never taken a bribe in their lives. Doubling their salary was something they couldn't refuse and still look at themselves in the mirror. The bandit crisis was over, so the office would manage. They could always buy Bao Tianqing a few nice dinners to smooth things over. 60 coins a day for 2 skilled fighters and bodyguards. Worth every copper. Meanwhile, the 3 brothers were about to have a very bad day. Li Zhengying and Li Zhenghua burst into Zheng Sai's house, panicking. He'd been napping, sleeping over 12 hours, and still not satisfied. What's wrong? Relax, I told my relative not to touch our 3 houses. It's not the bandits. They're all dead. The guard killed every single one. And now Li Hu is coming for us with armed men. Zheng Sai's brain went blank. How? The guard was half women who'd never seen blood. They'd only trained a few days. They barely had weapons. Impossible. You must have seen it wrong. The dead ones are probably the guards. I saw Li Hu leading the group with swords. They're heading straight for us. Bang, bang, bang. The door shook. Li Zhengsai? Open up. The color drained from Zheng Sai's face. His brothers hadn't been lying. The bandits were really dead. And now Li Hu was at his door. What do we do? This is a death sentence. Zhenghua was about to cry. Zheng Sai's eyes darted around. Running was pointless. They had no stamina and would be caught in minutes. That would just make them look guilty. Listen to me, he hissed. They have no proof it was us. We deny everything. No matter what they say, We know nothing. Stick to that, and we survive. Li Zhongkai told his brothers to stay calm. They have no proof. We deny everything. We know nothing. He walked to the door, went back to check on his brother's composure, then headed for the door again. Before he could open it, Li Hu kicked it in. The door smashed into Zheng Sai's face, giving him a nosebleed. I was just opening it. What's this about? He shouted, wiping blood, pretending he'd just woken up. Li Hu didn't bother arguing. He slammed Zheng Kai to the ground, tied him up, and dragged all three brothers to my house. When they arrived, Zheng Kai puffed out his chest like he had nothing to hide. His brothers tried to do the same, but couldn't pull it off. Their legs were wobbly, and their eyes screamed fear. Lin Xiaofan, you're framing us. We never conspired with bandits. You're the one who works with them. Everyone, don't believe his lies. I almost laughed. I'd expected begging, not a counterattack. Bold move, but I had everything I needed. Bring the prisoner out. The moment Zhang Jun appeared, Zheng Hua and Zheng Ying nearly collapsed. Zheng Sai's face twitched, but he held his ground. Zhang Jun spoke first, terrified that if he didn't, they'd believe Zheng Kai and kill him instead. Li Zhengkai came to find me yesterday morning and told me to bring the bandits here. Zheng Kai stared him down. I don't even know this man. He's lying. He turned to the crowd and pleaded his innocence. I had to admit, the performance was impressive. If I didn't have proof, he might have gotten away with it. I held up the letter. It was written on a scrap of cloth, a rough map of my house's location, and a few sentences in Zheng Sai's handwriting. His face finally cracked. He stammered. That's forged. He copied my writing. The villagers had had enough. Stop lying. Your skin is thicker than a city wall. You tried to get our whole village killed. Just execute him already. People threw stones. Someone from the guard drew their sword and had to be held back. Zheng Kai stumbled backward, sweating. This wasn't like before. He couldn't talk his way out. These people wanted him dead. His brothers collapsed to their knees, shaking too hard to form words. You can't kill me. Zheng Kai grasped at his last straw. The law says only the government can execute people. Kill me and you'll all be punished. Song Shang stepped forward with a cold smile and shoved his official badge into Zheng Sai's face. I represent the government. Conspiring with bandits is punishable by death under national law. I have the authority to carry out the sentence right here. For the first time, Zheng Kai had absolutely nothing to say. He finally understood why the bandits had lost. My house had government officers stationed in it. The bandits had walked straight into a trap. All the fight drained out of him. He crumpled to the ground. Please. I was confused. Spare me this once. Li Zhengying fainted on the spot. Take them away, I said. Execute them. 3 screams. 3 heads hit the ground. I didn't feel bad about it. If the crossbows had been ready 2 days later, those screams would have been mine and my wife's. These 3 men had knowingly sent killers to my door for a handful of silver. Standing there, looking at the aftermath, bandit corpses in my yard, 3 traitors dead in the village, I understood something clearly. In this world, you could die at any moment. If I wanted to survive, I needed my own armed force. The guard was a start, but I had to keep building. I had Zhang Jun tell me everything about their hideout. No one was left guarding it. They'd come with every last man. There were hundreds of sure of grain up there. I sent Li Hu with half the guard and the bull cart to haul it all back. Before he left, I whispered in his ear, kill the prisoner when you're done. I'd promised not to kill Zhang Jun myself. I never said anything about Li Hu. By evening, they brought back over 100 sure of grain, worth 70 or 80 taels if you bought it. I gave every guard member 60 jin of grain as a reward and told them all to take 2 days off. First time in combat for most of them. They needed to decompress. Song Shang and Tian Yu headed back to the magistrate's office to report what happened and handle their resignations. Song Shang said they'd finish out the month and come back in 10 days. Quitting was easy. Plenty of people wanted government jobs for the side income, so replacements wouldn't be hard to find. Once everyone left, it was just Sure and me in the quiet yard. Husband, you're incredible, she said, eyes shining. The government couldn't stop those bandits for years. You did it in 10 days, so what's my reward? I pulled her into my arms. She blushed, then saw nobody was around and got bold. Whatever you want. She wrapped her arms around my waist and kissed me. I scooped her up and carried her inside, kicking the door shut behind me. It's still daytime, she protested weakly. Nobody's here, I said. Besides, don't you want to get pregnant sooner? That's when her face crumbled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Husband, what if the rumors are true? What if we really can't have children? Maybe at the next selection, you should pick some other women who... I shut her up with a kiss. A long, hard one that left us both gasping. Don't ever say that again, I said firmly. I have 5 wives. That's more than enough. You think I'm a machine? I can barely keep up with the 5 of you. If you're not pregnant yet, that just means I need to try harder. 1 time doesn't work, we go twice. 10 times doesn't work, 20. I refuse to believe nothing will grow. Her face went completely red. Through her tears, she looked up at me. Husband, talking won't make a baby, sure. You know what will. That afternoon, the bedroom door stayed closed for a very long time. 10 days passed. Things settled into a steady rhythm. Song Shang came back once during that time and brought me 150 taels and bounty money for the killed bandits. He hadn't talked to Bao Tianqing about resigning yet. The 4 Tianshan bulls were performing beautifully. Each one hauled as much as 2 regular cattle, worth every coin I'd paid. Once breeding season came, I'd grow the herd. The second kiln was nearly finished, twice the size of the first. The only problem was fuel. We were burning through it too fast. I needed to find a coal supplier on my next trip to town. Coal burned hotter and saved manpower from chopping trees. Plus, we were running out of trees nearby anyway. In 10 days of non-stop operation, the first kiln had produced a small mountain of limestone, around 5,000 jin. At market rates, that was about 20 taels. For a bulk deal with a long-term partner, I'd probably have to drop the price to around 3 taels per 1,000 jin. Middlemen needed their margins, and I could accept that. Li San's crossbow workshop kept its 6-person crew. He said 6 was the sweet spot. More people would just create chaos. They'd gotten fast enough to produce 5 crossbows a day. After several rounds of improvements, the accurate range had pushed out to 25 zhang, and each crossbow now held 10 bolts instead of 8.